3, 2, 1. We good? Sweet. All right. Well, welcome,
What's
Barefoot
going on?
Senior. Yeah, pick up your microphone there so we can pick up your audio. Yeah. Thanks for heading over here. It's cool.
Good to see you, buddy. I don't see you much anymore. Go ahead and get this out of the way.
Get the black cherry white claws. Dude, I used to, maybe about like a year, maybe a year or two ago, I used to drink so many freaking white claws, dude. I was like, I just can't anymore. I can't do it. They make me sick now. Yeah, it's like it's pretty much any seltzer now. I just can't do it. I don't know what it is. I just can't handle it. They make me burp all the time. I just get real sick on them.
I think that's where I'm at with the regular beer is probably 20 years of throwing it back up. Now, when I taste one, I just taste every hangover I ever had until I was 40.
Yeah, dude. So that was the worst thing that ever happened to me was Tito's. I can never have I can't even smell it anymore because everybody's got the one that they can't go back to.
Oh, yeah.
And me and my buddy Eli at the old apartment, we had our night and we started at 9. I went to bed at 3:30. I don't remember anything past 9:30. And dude, it was so. I got so many videos on my phone that I didn't even take. But I just anytime that I even see it on a menu with a mixed drink, or I see even if I smell it in someone else's drink, I'm like, dude, you better get that away from me because I'm about to freaking lose it.
I got some of those memories. I come home from boot camp. I left right after I graduated, and I come home, and I went to my buddy Brandon Sanders. He's passed away now. He actually died in a car crash some time back. But anyways, I went to his house, and we were still only 18. But his mom made me the first drink I ever had when I was 15. His mom was a special character. But anyway, so we was drinking at his house, and he was like, he opened up his freezer and just where they kept their liquor at, and he had a fifth of Southern Comfort. Hadn't been opened yet.
Oh,
I
okay.
never had Southern Comfort. And he was like, let's just pour the whole thing out in shot glasses. And he had like a whole cabinet of shot glasses, and he poured this entire fifth in the shot glasses. And that was, like you said, maybe, I don't know, 8, 9 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
And like 15 minutes later, I don't remember anything. I woke up, almost died, And then
Oh my
I
gosh.
can't even smell that stuff anymore. Somebody opens it around me, I'd run out of the room.
You said Southern Comfort?
Yeah.
What is that?
I think it might be a whiskey. I have to look that up. I have the laptop over here.
Yeah, I do. I got my laptop right here so we
yeah.
can look stuff up.
I can't remember. I know I don't drink. I drink rum. I don't drink a lot of dark liquor, and that's the reason. That's the reason I don't.
Yeah, I'm not very good with it either. I can usually do rum pretty good, like Captain Morgan
I
or
like a dark rum.
Yeah, like Kraken's pretty good.
I think what I like about rum is I get like a natural, and maybe I pass it down to you. I got a natural sweet tooth.
Yeah.
And so anything that can be mixed with something sweet, or it's got a sweet taste to it,
Mhm.
like a spiced rum's got a little bit of sweet taste to it. Like,
Yeah.
it goes down better than something real harsh like a whiskey or a bourbon, or that's stuff to me I can't acquire a taste for it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The thing that I never got down with was anything whiskey related, or not whiskey, cinnamon related in alcohol.
Yeah.
I don't think.
I can never get in on the Fireball craze. The Fireball skyrocketed a decade ago, and everybody was in on it. I can never get in on that.
Southern Comfort is an American naturally fruit-flavored whiskey liqueur with fruit and spice accents. The brand was created by bartender Martin Wilkes Heron in New Orleans in 1874. Yeah,
I'll tell you what,
screw that.
dude, wreck your head. Like, I was so sick after that. So incredible stuff after that.
You're telling me about that freaking Jason Aldean concert. That sounded pretty rough.
Yeah, Jason Aldean. If my friends ever listen to this, they could tell some stories about Jason Aldean. I think at one point I was sleeping out in the parking lot on gravel. I was really hurt up. That was a Red Bull and vodka night, and that ended miserably.
Zach's been all in on the Red Bull and vodka, man. He started going out so much with our friend. He's actually in Vermont right now. I just dropped him off at the airport at 3:30 in the morning today. But Zach's been going out so much with him that we started to call him Z-Man whenever he goes out. He has such a persona change from just regular Zach to wherever he goes.
Red Bull and vodka
yeah, into Z-Man. So
Transformation.
so our friend Ethan, he was like, he was talking to Zach about if he wanted to go downtown, and Zach was like, yeah, like we can do something. He's like, am I getting Z-Man or Zach? He's like, which one? It's just like, I don't know if I want Zach tonight.
No matter how cool Z-Man is, there was a time when I had to change his pissy pants. It will always be to me. Piss pants Zach.
Did you ever hear the story of speaking of piss pants, the other day working in Kinston?
I don't think so.
I had a major accident.
Piss your pants?
No.
Well, worse than that.
I was in Kinston at an ATM. I was working on it, and I trusted this fart a little too much, and dude, I had to run into the Chinese restaurant right next to the strip mall, right next to the ATM, and I had my knife on me. I cut my underwear off of my freaking off my legs. I had to rip it out and throw it in the garbage. So bad.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, that was a couple months ago.
Like that Chinese restaurant didn't smell bad enough.
Yeah, I couldn't handle that, man. Yeah, no, I'm glad I got out of there.
I haven't had one of those in a while. I've had a friend used to tell a story all the time at Griffles about his buddy that had IBS, and they were in a conversation one day with all the women, similar to this conversation, talking about accidents and bowel movements and all that. And one of the women was like, I only go to the bathroom, 3 or 4 times a month.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like apparently she got bad constipation issues. And then he got replies that he had IBS. He's like, I shit my pants 3 or 4 times a month. I guess you could be on the extreme of either side.
Screw that noise, man. I think I'll take constipation any day.
I don't know, man. That sounds miserable too. That sounds pretty awful.
Do you ever hear back from your buddies at Griffles?
Not really. My friend Lee, he had a baby not long ago, so he's in the baby world now. And then my friend Patrick, he's got kids in sports, and he's got kids of all ages. Actually, one's probably, if she ain't finishing up college now, she's close, and then got them all the way down to little league ball. So I mean, I don't hear much from him, and it's like every other job, every other thing you do. People scatter once you go. You know what I mean? You don't keep track of much people anymore. You'll see it more and more the older you get. It's harder to keep in touch.
I feel like that'd be the most difficult thing for me as a parent, like having kids at each point in their lives, because then you have to worry about everything in all of their lives. You got to worry about the diapers and the spit up and the accidents when they're toddlers, and you got to worry about the introduction to school and learning and stuff when they're in like kindergarten and stuff, and you got high schoolers being weirdos. Like it's just I couldn't do it.
Yeah, that's why I planned you guys both at once. I didn't know how to do that. Get it all done at one time.
That sounds rough.
It is, and you hadn't seen it yet. But once you get older and start having kids of your own, and around people having kids of your own, if you're not in the same time frame as everybody else, as far as like your kids' age groups and whatever, kind of drives a wedge between the friendship, because people who got little babies don't want to hang out with people who got grown kids, because they don't have the free time that you do.
Yeah.
If you both had little kids, you could get them together and go do a play date or whatever little kids do these days. You could get together and do that. But if you're not there, it's just another reason not to hang out. I can't even do something. I got these kids. I can't do it with them. And I'm like, well, my kids are grown, so I'm going to fuck out of here. Like, I'm going to the bar.
That's probably pretty convenient with Kenneth and them being around your age, because even their kids they're best friends with y'all's kids, so it's they're kind of coincides.
They're a good group to hang out with. Anybody really who's the same, I guess, stage of life as you are. Somebody asked me the other day, hadn't got kids, asked me what was the best age for kids, and I told them that I thought 21 was pretty good. Pretty good. I said now they can go out and drink with me. I don't have to be a closet drinker around them, or I don't have to get up in the morning and take them to a play party somewhere or another. Like it's just normal people.
That was one thing that my friend Ethan that I was talking about. He talks about it a lot. Sometimes he mentions how it's super cool how we're grown now and we kind of got to grow up with you, because that was a pretty unique experience. Like, I mean, because you were as we were growing up and getting into high school, you were still in your 30s.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I mean, we were going on runs all the time.
Still
and,
growing up.
Yeah, like still lifting and all that stuff.
I mean, you're 21 now, getting ready to be 22. But I already had 2-year-olds,
Yeah.
2-year-olds at your age, and so a lot of my childhood, what I consider to still be child. I mean, I know you're a grown adult, but you still feel like a child.
Mhm.
You're very much child-minded.
Yeah.
Like, we were children together.
Yeah.
And we got to grow up together, and so now we get to hang out and drink beer together. And
Yeah.
do podcasts together.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool dynamic though, because Ethan's parents, they're 70.
Oh, wow.
And he's 26.
Damn.
So he's got an older brother who's 10 years older than him, and then they had him when they were like 40.
Yeah.
And then now
Well, that's a
his parents are older than my grandparents. You know what I mean? Like, it's insane.
It's a double-edged sword, though.
Yeah.
You can look at it from a multitude of ways. So, I'm 42 now. If I were to have you guys now, my resources are exponential compared to what they were when I had you. Like, I was struggling for every meal that I fed you. Like, that's poor,
Yeah.
more or less. I mean, I literally, I can go in a dollar amount, but I mean, probably 6-7 times the income that I had available to me at that time. And like, you'll find out when you have kids, income is your best friend, because these little shits are expensive. Like, everything they need is expensive. And so the less you have, the less you can do.
Mm-hmm.
You can't give kids what you don't have, right? So plus your whole temperament changes as you get older.
Mm-hmm.
You're less likely to come unwound over something small, something stupid. You know, you kind of grow into a little a calmer, easier to get along with state. So that's beneficial for having kids. But like you said, all of the things we did together we couldn't do now.
Yeah, that's true.
Well,
some of it
couldn't do if you were born now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you're 15 years later, we probably wouldn't be going on the same runs.
Yeah, probably wouldn't hit triathlons together.
We get my 16th surgery by that point. Get my hips sewed back together.
Growing up with, 2 kids whenever you were 19, probably looking back on it now, it probably makes you really appreciate having a stable relationship with Amber.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably a night and day difference.
Yeah. When me and your mom were good, it was good. When it was bad, it was really incredibly bad. So, that makes things hard too. So Amber and I, we're both probably the most laid back people you ever. We just get along, and so when you got that going, it sets the tone for the house. You know, if the two providers in the house don't get along, that also sets the tone for the house.
Yeah,
it makes the house full of chaos.
Yeah.
In that situation. It makes everything harder.
Yeah.
Everything becomes a challenge.
Yeah. I guess a pretty cool part of having Amber introduced to us was I remember it was kind of like hidden because we were kids. We didn't really shed light on it, how we were kind of struggling. I didn't get it. Obviously we were kids. We didn't understand finances or anything. But it was what I immediately recognized whenever we met Amber was how awesome it was that she was able to take over while you went back to school.
Yeah,
that was a pretty.
That was a turning point right there. I had wanted to do something different for years, but I was always kind of locked into manufacturing. The one thing my dad had always told me not to do, I was deadlocked into, and I couldn't get out of it because they pay you just enough that you can't leave. You know what I mean? Set your bills up so that you make that kind of money, and then you can't make that kind of money doing any other, degreeless occupation, I guess you would say. So you just get locked in. And so, when she was able to, when we finally hit the point where her income was enough that she could cover the bills, and then I found out that I had some GI Bill money left over, and that pitched in like you guys are doing right now, help cover the bills. And so I had just enough to get by. I could go back and go to school and get where I am now, where I don't work 12-hour night shift anymore. I work from my computer in my spare bedroom.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. What So you started at Griffles in what, like 2010?
2010.
Yeah. So you
left.
stayed there 11 years.
It was like almost 10.
Okay.
It was almost 10. It was just shy of 10 years. So I actually think I started in '09, and then 2009, and I left in like late 2018.
Right.
So
We were in high school.
That was coming up on my 10-year reunion.
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
not reunion, 10-year anniversary. Yeah. So.
Okay.
But yeah, that's a scary thing to leave a job after you've been there that
Yeah.
long. You
Yeah,
know?
I'm sure.
You've forgotten how to interview. You
Yeah.
haven't had a resume in a decade. You're like, you know what I mean? And then I'm going back to school with all these punk ass kids. I felt like I felt super. I felt like Happy Gilmore back in kindergarten. Or Billy Madison. I felt like I looked around. These were little children.
Yeah.
Back
to school.
Yeah, back to school. It felt like I was in there surrounded by small children, and that's a change. That was a real big change for me. But you push through and you get as far as you can and get done what you can, and then Solve Energy's been great. I got really lucky. I had like 4 jobs lined up when I took this job, and this one paid the least of all of them. Starting out, like the starting pay was less than all 4 of the other jobs that I had, and for whatever reason, this felt like what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
Like I had solar. I didn't know anything about it. They asked me in my interview what I knew about solar, and I told them that I had strung up the little solar lights that hang around the front of your house. I put those up. And he laughed. He was like, "You should put that on your resume." And then he hired me. And so, but anyways, I took the job. I didn't know what it was going to be. I knew it had a couple benefits that I thought were pretty cool, and it was outside. I liked the idea of working outside or being in manufacturing for so many years, and
you're kind of locked away.
Yeah. Oh man, you
hidden away like a POW.
You couldn't even see the daylight in there.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't even like a plant that had like windows or skylights or anything.
Yeah.
They kept you in the dark, and so you never knew what time of day it was. It all it's like being in a casino. You
Yeah.
never know. You don't know what time it is. And so I even got out there and just slowly over a few years kind of just worked my way up into soon to be management. And yeah, it's great. I just think it's the best decision, one of the best decisions I've made.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I remember growing up, it was certainly tough. Like I said, obviously we didn't really get it because we didn't understand how shifts worked and how it was to actually have a job and stuff like that. But we could certainly tell how physically those night shifts took a toll on you, the swing shifts.
It's brutal. It's brutal working like that, and you're not intended to be awake like that.
Yeah.
I heard your podcast yesterday, and you guys were talking about, just staying up at night, right? When you're out doing training or whatever, and you're up all night, and you're trying to make sure you're not getting snuck up on and attacked, right? And that's for a short period of time like that, it's almost an exhilarating feeling when you've been up for so long. It's almost like a high you get, right? You know what I'm talking about? You almost get like a second wind, and you get this high, and it's cool for a little bit. But then when you do it for 10 years and you haven't slept like a solid night, so like I didn't realize how much it was affecting my sleep when I wasn't at work. Yeah, like it wasn't just that I was staying up at night; it was that I wasn't sleeping at any time anymore. And eventually, you kind of grow gradually into this state of fogginess. Yeah. I always describe it like you're never really awake, you're never really asleep. Yeah, it's kind of somewhere in between. Yeah,
kind of like a limbo spot.
Yeah, and it took me about a month after quitting before I started sleeping again, and I didn't realize how bad I felt.
Yeah,
I didn't realize people I would see. Like I remember I talked to Shelton one day when I started working part time at Sears and school, and he was like, "You're like a different person," but you felt like a different person. Yeah, you didn't feel like it. Everything pissed me off before because I hadn't slept in 3 days. Like I was mad. I was just mad at the world. And it's a different feeling than doing it occasionally. Like, I had a late night flight the other day, and I kind of got that feeling again, like that high. When I got off the plane, I kind of felt like I was high a little bit. Yeah. And it's like, that's pretty cool. Got home, had a long days. Got home, had a little party or whatever. But then I went to sleep that night. It was different. Stay up for 4 more days.
So the actual breakdown of your schedule, I remember it was 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. What was the actual breakdown of the hours that you were working for 10 years?
Well, it was, you do 60 hours one week and 24 hours the next. It's pretty standard for manufacturing because it's easy to run continuous operation like that. And
Probably sounds good whenever they're pitching it to you too.
Yeah, that's how they sell it. Is well, you got half the year off.
Yeah.
You're like, shit,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. You
Yeah,
know what I
right.
mean? And in theory, you do have half the year off.
Yeah.
Right. But not if you count me starting at 6 o'clock one night and working until 6 o'clock the following day.
Yeah.
I didn't get either of those. So, and then we're poor, so I worked overtime.
Yeah.
You're supposed to get a day off. I'd work that day too because I needed the money. And not to say there's anything wrong with doing it. Some people function great in that environment.
Yeah, that's really strange to me. I've never understood how. You would think that anatomically, like most people would be designed to kind of operate the same way most animals do. Like, and some people just run off of nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like they're nocturnal. They function better at night.
Yeah. Some people do well with it, and lots of people I still work with are still there. They'll never leave.
That's crazy.
Like it. Promoted multiple times since then in management. But the biggest thing for me there was there were very few opportunities for me to promote out of shift work.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there wasn't no light at the end of the tunnel. My supervisor at the time was, I don't know, I'm terrible at guessing ages, maybe in his mid-50s.
Mm-hmm.
And he was going to be a supervisor too. He retired. He was never leaving that role.
Yeah.
Just because he didn't have a degree. It was as high as he could go. So, of course, he made more money.
Yeah.
Of course, he had a better job. He still worked night shift. There was no. So I remember the breaking point. Well, I say it was a breaking point. I probably worked another year after this, but it was like mentally the breaking point for me was I was talking to one of my friends one night, and we were on break. It was like 1 a.m, just sitting outside and talking about going back in, and he's made a comment about something about retiring in 30 years.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, what? He's already been there at that time, he was there longer than I had. He'd been there for 15 years or something.
Uh-huh.
And he was like, yeah, I think it'd be great if I could work 30 more years and then retire. And I was like, 30 more years here? 30 more years of night shift? And then I sat down and I was like, damn, he's been here longer than I have. I got to work 35 more years? And I was like, nah, I can't do this shit.
Yeah.
And so from that day forward, every thought I had was about how do I get out of here?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, what do I do to get out of this place?
Yeah.
So
because probably that year mark you hadn't even met Amber. Yeah.
I had been with Amber for, we met in March, married in October. I left the following July.
Mm-hmm.
So we had been together. We had known each other for about a year and a half at that point.
Okay.
And I told her, she wanted me out of it. She hated it as much as I hated
Yeah.
it. Because, you're married, but you're spending half your nights alone.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's really, if you think about it, that's no different than the reason I left the military.
Yeah.
I got out of the Coast Guard because we had to spend 182 days a year at sea.
Yeah.
Well, I spent 182 days a year at work. And it wasn't matter where you're working, day shift or night shift, 12-hour day, that day's over.
Yeah.
Especially if you're driving any distance to get to work. Just figure in your drive 13, 14 hours a day. That day's, you work long days.
Yeah.
You're not doing anything else on that day.
Yeah, not to mention, all the days you have to recover afterward.
Yeah.
You're a zombie.
Yeah. So half the year you give up to get the other half.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's the exact reason I left the military. But, I don't know. I kept thinking there has to be a way not to do this anymore. And so I told her multiple times I didn't think it was possible that I was kind of stuck there, at least until you guys got through college.
Mm-hmm.
And everything kind of happened at once. You guys got your driver's license. Amber started making more at work. I found out, I guess, that I had some GI Bill left, and it's kind of like
How did you figure that out?
Well, so like I said, I had hit my breaking point. I was looking for any avenue to get and
for the disability checks.
I found online, just doing some research, that some bill had gotten passed somewhere along the way where they changed the GI Bill to the post 9/11. You ever heard of post 9/11 GI Bill?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you were in the service during 9/11, they extended your bill out for 15 years.
Okay, because you barely made that.
Yeah, and I didn't quite. I run out there towards the end. Run out of money there towards the end, but had some student loans. But
you barely made the 9/11 part.
Yeah. Well, no. I joined in 2001. That was when 9/11 happened. So
yeah, you just.
Well, I guess in that respect, I did barely make it, but yeah. So then I found that out, and I was like, oh, shit, I started doing some math. I was like, I think I got some time left on this thing. And then I found out, the rules changed for it a little bit, too, what they provide and how it was different than first time I had tried to use the 911 when I was younger, or not the 911, the GI Bill. It was
Montgomery.
It was just a little different.
Yeah.
Like the way it paid out, the structure of it was different, and so got to doing some math and figured out what this thing paid. Figured out like I went sold my car. Like I had that WRX.
Mhm.
The first thing I did is get rid of that,
Yeah.
and I got the same car you're driving right
Yeah.
now because it cut my car payment down. And,
Yeah.
just started. I mean, calling up everybody like
Mhm.
Netflix, you're done. Shut
Yeah.
up. like
Don't need it.
Cutting anything I could cut down to the bare minimum, and finally got it down to where like we can afford this, we could do it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, just that's when I went back and got out of there. But I was excited for it.
Yeah, I bet because I don't. There's zero chance that CEOs and people at these pharmaceutical companies, admin personnel, there's zero chance that they don't recognize that they're literally taking years off people's life, making them work like that.
I seen a study one time. They sent a study out, and it was talking about what it does to you.
Mhm.
They said we weren't just straight nights. I think straight nights would have even been better.
Yeah,
You
I
rotate
agree.
from days and nights.
Yeah.
And so just
'Cause
about
it was 2 weeks on, 2 weeks
just
off.
about
Right?
time I'd start sleeping one way, switch it, you go to the other way.
Yeah, you
And
never
so,
quite
yeah,
adjusted.
I know the worst day shift was the worst.
Yeah,
Day shift was way worse than night shift.
Really?
Because I had just gotten where I was awake at night and sleeping during the day.
Yeah.
Then you switch to day, and I couldn't sleep at night
Yeah.
anymore, and I was awake
Yeah.
during the day when I wanted to be asleep.
yeah,
And that was miserable.
Yeah.
It's miserable to be sleepy like that at 9, 10 in the morning.
yeah,
That's worse to me. I'd rather be, you almost expect to be sleepy at night.
Yeah.
Like, you don't want to be sleepy like that at 10 in the morning. You want to be
Yeah.
wide awake like you should be. But I wasn't ever. And that's days off or days on.
yeah. What did this study say?
I was just talking about the detrimental effects of work. Like, I'd have to pull it up. It's been a long time since I read it, but like the things it does to your internal organs and your body and your internal mechanisms, and it just messes it all up. It literally, like you said it perfectly. It takes years off your life.
Yeah,
And I think that's whether you do it for your life or for a period of your life. I think whatever damage I did for those 10 years, I think that damage is done.
Yeah.
You lost that. So it takes, I don't know, a year, a decade. I lost a year. So.
yeah. And it's crazy just because no matter what you do now, you're obviously very healthy now.
Yeah.
You get really good sleep most of the time, and you work out 6 days a week, 7 days a week. Like, you still never. It doesn't matter how much sleep you get now. That time is gone. Like, it's insane.
You don't catch up on sleep. That's one thing you'll hear people say a lot when they're working schedules like that. Well, you'll find out. You want to be a nurse. They do the same things. Yeah, so people are always talking about catching up on sleep. I got 3 days coming off. I'm gonna catch up on sleep. Well, you don't ever catch up on sleep. Like, the sleep that you lost, that's gone. Like, you can try to feel rested on your day off, but you can't catch back up on sleep. That's what you miss. I mean, that's your body's recovery period.
Mm-hmm.
So you just didn't cover it. Like, it's like lifting weights, right? We're always talking about lifting weights.
Yeah.
If you worked your ass off today in the weight room, which I constantly did when I was working out, but then
Yeah.
I don't sleep for 24 hours.
Yeah.
Well, that workout was probably useless.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even recover from my normal daily function, let alone destroying my
Yeah,
quads.
absolutely.
Like, they can't recover.
Absolutely.
So you lose it. Whatever you lost, it's gone.
Yeah, those basic like metabolic processes that you
Yeah.
need, like you just can't do it. Like, your body has no energy. Like, you have nothing. You're running on fumes.
I tell you what I hated most about night shifts is I was never one that I could work out in the morning after night shift because I felt so bad.
Yeah.
So I usually worked out in the afternoon before night shift.
Oh,
And so you go and work out and just like crush a workout. But then like the delayed onset muscle soreness would start in the middle of the night when you were supposed to be sleeping, right? The time when you would normally wake up and like, oh, I'm sore. No, that happens while you're awake. Like, you've been down and you're like, I can't do that right now. I'm really sore. Yeah, it wasn't as delayed as it should be.
that's insane. But you finally made it out. You made it out of the woods. Amber was starting to pick up on bills and everything. How did it feel? Close to, you're probably 40 close to 40 at least.
Yeah.
How did it feel being close to 40 years old, going back to school in probably the most difficult program that any university has to offer? Like, was it? I can only imagine, because speaking for me, obviously I'm comfortable in my environment.
Yeah.
Everyone here is my age. Everyone looks just like me.
Yeah.
So I obviously don't really have any quarrels, any problems with going and seeing people my age and doing classes. I couldn't even imagine. I'd feel scared.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing where I felt at a disadvantage was I wasn't gonna. first of all, it was an hour commute to school.
Yeah.
I was commuting to ECU from Clayton, so that's not a short drive. But because of that, whenever everybody else is getting together after school to work on their projects together, because there's these humongous, crushing projects that they've done, I couldn't stay and hang out with a bunch of 20-year-olds for class. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't do that.
Couldn't grab a few beers.
Like, they were all hitting the dorm room and like teaming up and working on their stuff and finishing their stuff out, because engineering it's a team effort. Like almost everything you get assigned in engineering is a team effort.
Yeah.
So I was going home and doing that by myself and struggling to figure out how to do it, and that was not great. That part of it was not great. And then, COVID came along, and then everybody was. Like, nobody was coming to class.
Yeah.
The kids were living together in the dorms or whatever. Like, it was all just basically group assignments at that point.
Yeah.
Like, even their tests. Like, I hear them like that. Like, they were group testing and shit. And here I am, up in the loft trying to do this problem in SolidWorks. And it was difficult. But that, being surrounded by, you'll see. When you get 40, kids 20, don't seem super mature because they're not because they're 20.
Yeah.
And that's your partners for your work. So
Yeah.
I didn't have partners. I had people who watched me work.
Yeah, good kids.
Yeah. Was that meme I sent that time? Said I want my group partners to lower me down in my grave so they could let me down one last time.
Yeah, that's insane, man. It's also a huge stigma that the smarter, more experienced person does the work. It's like, it's the thing. It's the stereotype. It's like, obviously, you're
you
the
must
adult.
know how to adult better than I know how to adult.
Yeah.
You've been adulting longer.
Even though we're in the same class, even though we're at the same point at not having a job.
Yep.
That must have also been really difficult, because whereas me and Zach and Laurel and Olivia, we live right next to school, we can go see the professor and ask questions.
Yeah.
We can, instead of emailing them, we can go speak to them about our emails or grades or tests or assignments.
That's right.
And I remember you used to watch a lot of my organic chemistry professor. You're pretty much teaching yourself organic chemistry.
Yeah, I had to, learn off YouTube. I had to go home. I had a family. I had a house to take care of.
Yeah. 4
cars I had to look after, and 4 dogs, and 4 kids. Why is everything in multiples of 4? I don't know. So, I had lots of other responsibilities these kids didn't have. It's not to say that it was, easier or harder for me, but I couldn't stay after class and talk to the professor for 2 hours, or I couldn't go to the library and hang out. I had to go home. Mm-hmm. And people waiting on me to go home, so I go home and learn it myself.
Mm-hmm.
Makes you really good at finding information, though.
Yeah, I would assume so. From going and working, you were still working, or you were working your swing shift at Griffles, killing yourself with your day shift, your swing shift. Was it almost better or worse physically and mentally to go from that to a situation where you're pounded by 16 credit hours of engineering work on top of being a husband and a father and a house sitter and all these different things? Did it compare?
Initially, it was better just because I was sleeping at night. Mm-hmm. I had more of like a normal family dynamic. But the further it got into engineering, the more it became. There really wasn't enough hours a day you could put into engineering. Like you could put more hours in than there were days. And so we were kind of right back to the same spot. But it was definitely a transition. It was a tough transition period, and makes you appreciate when you do have a normal day, like an 8-hour day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and that was one thing. I used to have a buddy who was a Capital Ford mechanic,
mm-hmm.
and he always talked about how the problems, right? So drive a car in. He said the worst was a noise. Somebody brought a car in and was making a noise.
Yeah.
That was the worst complaint because that's the hardest thing to find is why it's making this noise. And so he said he would lay in bed at night and think about this problem, right? Because if he didn't solve it, he didn't get paid.
Yeah.
That's how they got paid, is the work that they produced. Yeah. And so he's laying in bed at night trying to solve this problem. He's like, you have no idea how nice it is to leave here of a day and you leave it all here. It's like nobody calls you at home. Mm-hmm. You don't have to think about this place. Once you leave, you shut it off. So, school's not really that way.
Yeah.
When you leave school, that's just the beginning of your problems.
Yeah.
Now
you get to start your problems when you get home.
Now you got all this work you got to do and all these assignments you got to do. And that's how that is. But it's setting you up for Not all jobs are that way. My
Mhm.
job's not that way. I got to work this weekend. I got a report I got to build. They need it by Monday.
Yeah.
I can't do it unless I work this weekend, so I have to do it. But I mean, still, even on its worst day, building a report in the spare bedroom of my house from my laptop. It's only so bad, right? there's people doing much worse jobs than I'm doing. So.
Oh yeah, oil riggers out there,
Oh,
24-hour
man.
shifts.
There's people doing some really tough. I mean, it's the guys who are building these solar sites.
Yeah.
These guys have jobs. So, Desert Center, California is where I went. We built 3 sites out there. It was Erica, Victory Pass, and Oberon.
Mhm.
And they call it Desert Center for a reason. It is in the center of the desert. Like there's nothing out there. You can look in every direction for as far as you can see, and all you see is desert.
Uh-huh.
And those guys at one point during the summer were having to get up and go into work at like 2 in the morning.
Oh God.
And the reason is because by midday it was 130 degrees outside.
Oh my gosh.
Every day. And so if they didn't get up and go to work at 2 in the morning, they were working all day in 130-degree heat. So they would
Jesus.
try to go in early and knock off by like mid-morning when
Yeah.
it started getting hot,
Yeah.
you know. But even then, they were getting caught in sandstorms.
Yep.
You know, they get caught in these like desert storms that roll up on you real
Yeah.
fast.
Not to
like-
mention you spend half the day not seeing what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, those guys have bad jobs.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that
God
sucks.
bless them. I'm glad that they're there to do it because I wouldn't have a job if they weren't willing to do that.
Yeah.
But that is not easy work. I mean, manual labor.
Mhm. Yeah,
They're not
that's
typing
real.
on. They're not banging a keyboard. Like,
Yeah.
those guys are. Well, like for example, have you ever? I know you worked on a solar farm for a little bit. Did you ever see any solar under construction at all around that area over there where you were at? And
Yeah, so we actually installed an extra 50 megawatts. We did the retrofit to actually install the modules are already set up as soon as I got the job, but we did the part of actually installing all the wiring to the new
Right.
inverters.
did you see them drive to piles?
I did not.
So they got a machine. It's called a PD10 pile driver 10. It's a pile driver. But and so those guys have a quota, like of what they're supposed to drive a day, and so if piles are spaced 21 feet apart, the guy in front of them is setting them up. Piles are already laid on the ground. They come through. He loads it up on the. They drive these things with a little remote.
Mhm.
Right? He hooks it up to the rigger. They raise it up, hook it in the machine, drive it in the ground. They do it like 400 times a day.
Oh my gosh, dude.
Yeah, they do it. I mean, it depends on drive time,
Uh-huh.
right? Some
Yeah.
sites the pile will go in just a few seconds,
Yeah,
15, 20 seconds, to go real fast.
like the marshy land.
Yeah, some sites, if it's hard ground, it'll take longer, so you obviously don't do as much.
I'm
But
sure the desert sucks.
yeah,
doing it.
if you're driving a pile and it's got a pretty quick drive time, hundreds of piles
Oh my
a
gosh.
day, and that's all you do. Like I seen them out there working in the Desert Center, and they were working as the sandstorm rolled up.
Oh my gosh.
And they just pulled their goggles down and raised their dust. It looked like Tom Cruise in the fourth Mission Impossible movie. With the storm. That's what it looked like.
He just like threw it down.
Yeah, quota didn't slow down none.
Oh
Like,
my
it just
gosh,
keep
no
driving
way.
Piles in the sandstorm, yeah, and like they got their little dust mask pulled up, got their eyeballs covered.
Yeah.
Keep driving.
Oh my gosh.
But that's a hard job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't feel bad when I have to input some data into my computer.
Yeah.
Like, I try to think of what I could be doing.
Yeah.
And what I'm not doing. So
Yeah, I'm sure that was definitely a tough transition going from having not done any sort of educational institution, having been to any educational institution for 20 years, and then going straight into this tough ass class. I know because you've always been pretty good with math and everything. Is that what
Yeah.
kind of motivated you to get there? Or I know
well,
you've been pretty good.
I was always pretty good at math. I felt like for the time that you put into it, like engineering is the most bang for your buck.
Yeah.
Right. So if you do it really fast, it's a
Mhm.
4-year program.
Mhm.
You know, that's working summer schools. That's oversized, credit loads. It's really jamming it in to get in 4 years. But like a doctor,
Mm-hmm.
you always hear doctor, lawyer, engineers, right? Those are your 3 big,
Yeah.
well-known professions. Well,
Mhm.
to be a doctor or lawyer, you got to go to school for like 8 years.
Yeah, you gotta do a lot more.
To be an engineer, you can go for like 4, and you may not make exactly equivalent money, but there's some engineers out there who do really well for themselves.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Get up into engineering managing, and I mean, they can do really, really well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, doctors don't start out fantastic either. you
Right.
know. Plus, they've got an extra 4 years of medical school debt.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They might start out with several $100,000 in the hole. By the time they work their way out of that, you could be an engineer manager making, really good money. So it was just, to me, it was the most bang for the buck at that point in my life.
Yeah, that makes sense.
There's a point of return. Obviously, if I started this at 18 and I was going to be an orthopedic surgeon, sure, for the first 12 years, engineer would be blowing me out of the water.
Yeah.
Right? Dude's making money after 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
And he's at, by the 12-year mark, that dude's 8 years into his career. He's doing great.
Yeah.
But then the orthopedic surgeon graduates from school, starts bringing home what they bring home.
Yeah.
And so there is a point where they intersect again, and
Mm-hmm.
the doctor passes, but not when you're 40.
Yeah.
Right? When you're 40, you don't start on a path like that.
Mm-hmm.
So wasn't a lot of other things I could think of at that age to go into that I
Professional bodybuilder.
Go
get your pro card.
A great career. I wasn't good enough at golf to start my golf career. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm interested in hearing about this. So, like you said, you're not really suffering, but your relationships with people, your wife, your kids, it was sort of difficult to see kind of the light of it in your hell of Griffles.
Yeah.
Whenever you switched over and transitioned into doing classwork, how instantly did you feel that those relationships get better and start to improve?
It's pretty much instantly.
Really?
The biggest thing I notice is temperament, which is odd because I don't know that happens to everybody, but me, I guess particularly when I haven't slept in days, I just get real irritable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everything pisses you off. And you traffic jam, you're furious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stuff that wouldn't normally make you mad makes you mad because you're already on edge.
Mm-hmm.
And so that went away almost immediately once you started sleeping again at night. And so I felt immediately better in all the relationships that I had.
Yeah.
You guys, Amber, it felt like I was easier to get along with,
Mm-hmm.
just in general. And so
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, that was probably the best part of it. Schoolwork, nobody likes school.
Mm-hmm.
You do it because you
Yeah.
need to do it. You have to do it. But going back to a normal, seeing people every day.
Yeah.
Just something as simple as seeing people
Friends
every day.
and stuff like
I'll
that.
tell you the worst part of night shift, and I've told this many times. The very worst part of night shift is on your long week of night shift. So you work Monday, Tuesday night.
Mm-hmm.
You're off Wednesday, Thursday. You work Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
Mhm.
right? The worst part of night shift is Friday evening, right before you get ready to go to work, because we went in at 6. So at 5 o'clock, getting ready, right? Well, what happens at 5 o'clock around the house on Friday?
People get home.
People get home. Everybody coming home for the weekend, right? Amber's getting off work, ready to wind down, watch some TV, eat some dinner.
Kids
You guys
coming
are done
home.
with school. You're coming home. Everybody's ready to do something fun. And I'm getting ready to miss the whole weekend.
Mhm.
Like I'm walking out the door to work all night, sleep all day for 3 days straight.
Yeah.
That is a kick to the ball sack.
Yeah.
That is hard to do.
Yeah,
It's
that sounds pretty
it's
miserable.
really difficult to do.
Especially for someone who was just kind of starting to take ownership of these stepkids that you procured. You couldn't really build a relationship with them.
No, it's just this. I mean, that's a crushing feeling
Yeah.
to me to leave like that. And it's not like occasionally. We're doing this a couple times a month.
Yeah.
Like you come leaving
3-4 times a month. Yeah.
for these long weekends like this is miserable. And like I said, I got any of my friends from work over here. This is probably think I'm giant pussy because they might still be doing it. But I hated it.
Yeah.
That part of it I hated.
Yeah.
I have always said that I liked my job out there. Like
Yeah.
my actual job making the medicine. I had kind of, drank the Kool-Aid that we were saving people's lives, and we were. That medicine saves people's lives, and so I was okay doing that for a living. You know what I mean? Saving people's lives. I was fine with that.
You made Gamunex, right?
Yeah, Gamunex is a drug for immunocompromised people, basically giving them a temporary immune system until they can get their next injection of a temporary immune system.
Right.
Once you go on it, you're always on it.
Yeah.
But I was okay with the saving people's lives, going to work. That was fine. The job itself was, it had its moments where it could be physically demanding, but it wasn't most of the time. Most of the time it was pretty decent work.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't always super stimulating, but it could be. You could solve problems. You could figure things out. So, it had rewards in all the normal aspects. And if it had been a Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30 job, I'd probably still be there.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it that bad.
Mhm.
I hated the hours.
Yeah.
I hated being sleepy. all
Yeah.
the time.
I don't blame you. it looked like a pretty rough spot, but I'm sure what a big thing that motivated you to push forward and kind of pursue your degree and do well, not only pass but to do well and exceed well above beyond what was asked of you. I'm sure, because what would have motivated me in your situation, and I guarantee you felt it, was the fact that you weren't contributing as much, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like the fact that it was kind of based on the fact that Amber was running shit,
Yeah.
and you were kind of in this limbo phase.
Yeah, you're dead weight.
Yeah,
That's basically what you are.
I couldn't imagine that kind of that feeling.
It's weird because as a kid when you're in school you don't ever feel that.
Yeah.
Like, it's your mom and daddy's supposed to take care of you, right?
Yeah.
But it was like suddenly when you're the one in a relationship who's not pulling her weight anymore, like that's hard to take. It's a hard pill to swallow. And so you try to work a little bit of part time, but I mean, all I did was schoolwork.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see here pretty soon. Like you get in this nursing program, it's going to be the same. Like it's just going to be your life for a little while. That's why you got to come off of the long hours and the work schedule. And that was the same way for me. I could work some, but most of what I did was homework. I did it on the weekends, did it at night, did it in the evenings, and it's just what you become.
Yeah.
It's just you do your work, and like you said, the whole goal is to stop doing that and start making money again.
Yeah.
Because that's what people really need, money.
Yeah.
You guys were coming up on college age. Hannah and Landon are coming up on college age now. You gotta provide.
Mm-hmm.
People need your money so that they can do the same thing you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing it late.
Yeah.
It's their time to do it. You know what I mean? So that's why I always tell you guys, like, get your degree now. Sure, you can put it off. Sure, you can go back. You can do all that, but you can also not do it.
Yeah.
You can also get really caught up in what you're doing, what your money you need, bills you have. You can get caught up in all of that.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, it's been a decade and you're not going back.
Mm-hmm.
Now it feels like it's too late to go back.
Now you're making $40,000 a year, this shithole job.
It feels like it's too late to go back. Like that's a thing. That's why most people. I'm sure there's a statistic out there we can pull up. But the statistic on people who go to college straight out of high school and the ones who go.
Yeah.
After they've taken some time off, and I would say the success rate is very, very low.
Yeah.
It's just easy to get caught up.
Yeah, I hadn't even turned 21 yet. Whenever I started at ECU, I was still 20 years old, and I started my first semester. And even then, I was like, everyone here is 18. I was like, I've missed my time. I was just 2 years. And it was crazy because I got here and I was in these freshman classes. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I just didn't fit in. I felt like I didn't, at least. I was totally.
The age gap's really big at that age.
Yeah.
So, from a 40 to a 42-year-old, doesn't feel like you're both middle-aged dudes.
Yeah.
Feel the same. From an 18 to a 21-year-old, that's a big gap.
Yeah.
Right. There's a lot happened in your life, and from 18 to 21.
Yeah.
And so, it's a more noticeable gap, I would say.
Yeah.
I could understand why you felt that way.
It certainly. I was in the exact same situation as you, but I was in something close to where I had to quit my job to pursue this opportunity to go back to school. And I was just like you. I was very nervous. Zach wasn't making anything. I was making all the money to live here.
Yeah.
And
you had a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Like after you left Fern, you worked your way into a pretty good spot. You were making more money at you're 19 at
19,
that point?
yeah.
19. You were making more money at 19 than I was making at 30.
Yeah.
You landed in a good spot, and so it would be easy at that point to say, well, I'll just start here and work my way into it. And you could. You probably could have worked your way into a career. It's just the process is longer and slower, right? The less education you have, the slower you progress.
Mm-hmm.
That's all everybody sees you as is the worker. Just a worker. They pay you worker wages. So
yeah, and that was whenever I started to transition to this, and I was working full 40 hours on the weekends to do school during the week, and I tell everybody I used to give everybody so much shit for thinking that they couldn't do it, and I almost like look down on people like mom and daddy's paying for all your stuff. I'm sitting over here busting my ass every weekend to make this work, and I didn't tell anybody that, but you should just
Yeah.
mentally give them shit.
Yeah.
And then until I got to my third semester of doing it, and I was doing microbiology lab, anatomy 2, some other military history, and then I was doing all this stuff, and on top of that, I was still working my 40 hours in my 3 days, and I was like, dude, I'm glad nobody does this.
Yeah,
I'm
this is terrible.
I'm glad no one does what I do, and it was such a humbling moment for me. I was like, these people whose parents are paying for their stuff are making better grades than you. Like,
Yeah.
I made my first B this year in college, and I will never admit that it was my fault because that freaking TA that taught the class didn't know what she was doing. But I really started to feel myself lacking in all these places where at times I would have had time to study and maybe I would have been able to push myself to do it, but I kind of just pushed it off. I was like, I just got off work, and now I got here on Monday, 40 hours done, and now I got to deal with 20 assignments and all this shit. I maybe just don't study as much,
It's one of those things where no part of your life gets 100% from you.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing gets the best. So, like if there's tomorrow's a day off. If I decide to work out tomorrow, my workout will get 100%. That's what I got to give it, right? But if you've got 5 things to do today and all of them take equal precedence, well, they're all getting 20% effort.
Yeah.
Right? School, work, exercise, study, they're all getting 20%. That's all you got to give. Can't give more than 100. That's all you got. And so it's a kind of a crushing feeling when you have, more things to do than you have effort to give.
Yep.
And so I could get that. And that's one of the things I struggle with in school is, me, I like to go 100%.
Yeah.
As often as I can, as much as I can, for as many things as I can. But, some point of school is to give you more than you can focus on, right?
Yeah.
Like to get you to the point where you, even just school, I can't give 100% to this class anymore.
Yeah.
I'm divided now. This class over here needs more of my attention. I got to divvy it up amongst this and this and this. And so I hate that feeling.
Yeah.
I hate not being able to give, the best.
I get that. That was why I noticed it this semester, was because not only was I doing more coursework, I was taking on more responsibilities. I was doing more competitions. I was working out more. I was doing all this stuff, and then where I was divvying up my percentage, what I was taking my percentage away from was all of my relationships.
Yeah.
And that was why me and Kendall broke up. I mean, she couldn't handle me doing school and work anymore. I was an ass all days because anybody try to touch me while I'm doing my homework. I'm like, stop! I got 2 days to get this done, and then I'm my job.
Stressed to the max.
So I was really difficult on people. Looking back at this past semester, I was really mean to a lot of people. I wish I could take it back, but I mean, a lot of it is, it's just how it is. But I was certainly taking my percentage out a lot on, family. I didn't see you guys very much.
Yeah.
Zach, mean to him sometimes, but
it's a tough spot you've been locked in. But you see some daylight now, right?
Yeah.
See a little daylight coming.
I'm so happy.
So you got into your nursing program. What are you going to do with that? You think you're going to do any actual nursing, or I know you got big plans with the military and all that?
Yeah, so whenever I get, graduate, I'll have my BSN, I'll take my NCLEX and everything. I'll get assigned to my unit, and I kind of always had an idea that I would work for a couple years, get good at what I do, learn a lot of stuff, because obviously you lose, if you don't use it, you lose it kind of thing. It's perishable. I wanted to get really good at it, but that whole time I wanted to train up for selection as well and just get my body and my education ready for gearing towards something a little bit bigger. But maybe if that doesn't work out, or maybe I could do it later. I've always wanted to, ever since I got into nursing, I wanted to go into the CRNA program and be like a nurse anesthetist.
Oh yeah.
And it just seemed pretty cool. One of my big goals, my bucket list things, was always to have a graduate degree.
Yeah.
So that would put me in a master's or a doctoral program, and then
Does the Army have a program to cover that?
Yep.
That's cool. Where's that at?
I think they have it at Baylor.
Same place Zach's looking to go.
Yep.
Okay. What
But
town is that near in Texas? What town is it in?
I really have no idea. I think it's close to Fort Sam Houston. So
I need to
maybe
look that up, see
maybe
where it's at.
Houston. I really don't know.
I'm
But
thinking about, if you guys ever ended up in Texas, because I have to go out west so much, and we build a shit ton of solar in
Yeah.
Texas.
you just
I
live out
could
there.
probably go out there frequently.
Yeah.
Even though I couldn't get out there to live out there, I'm sure I could pass through frequently because I'm either flying in Texas to lay over or I'm going to Texas. I was just in Texas a couple weeks ago.
Mhm.
Electra, Texas. You want to go live in Electra, Texas? I'll tell you, there's shit out there. There's nothing in Electra, Texas. There's like 3 cows and a wind turbine. There's nothing out there.
That's insane.
But yeah, we build all over Texas, man. It's a toss up between Texas and California.
Yeah,
We-
that makes sense.
Equal parts. We build
Huge.
a ton of solar in Texas. It's just so much open land
Yep.
out there.
That makes sense.
There's not a lot of Like you build a site in California, and it is nothing but red tape,
Yep.
permits.
Uh-huh.
You know how it is.
Yeah.
But Texas, they
Yeah.
don't give a shit.
You just
Like,
walk
you
in.
can build anything in Texas. Like most counties that I call out there, they're like, yeah, we don't have any permits. Just do whatever you want. Like, there's no permits here. Like, all right, we'll start building some solar then. But that's just the way it is in Texas, man. It's so much open, empty land, and it's flat. There's not a lot of trees.
Yeah.
It's just easy to build on.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. You build out here in North Carolina, first thing you got to do is clear 40 acres of woods before you can put anything down. Like, any field that's been cleared has got crops on it.
Yeah.
That's not the way it is out there.
Yeah. All you see them doing out here now is just logging everywhere.
Yeah.
Logging all the sides. Even you look at exit 93 at Smithfield. Like they logged that whole area, but just by the exit. Like,
Yeah.
what is that even for? What are you gonna do with that?
I don't know.
That area. It's just trees sitting there by the exit sign. They trashed all that too, or
This
got
is
rid of it.
Not a great. It's not an impossible for solar, but you got to have good drainage.
Yeah.
You get a lot of rain,
Mhm.
and so you got to have somewhere for all that water to go. So you imagine if you were just go to clear cut a forest, right, and then turn that into solar farm land.
Mhm.
Well, all those trees that were sucking up water for the past 100 years, well, now they're not. And so all that rainwater that's going to land on there, it's got to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Or otherwise, you're going to have some of the shit we saw out there at Fern, where you just got a lake out
Yeah.
in the middle of your raised.
Mhm.
It's just not it's not set up to drain like
Mhm.
it should. And so you have to have a really good, solid drainage plan, or else solar sites out here on the East Coast,
Mhm.
they don't do well. And then the other side of that is if it is a wet spot and you can't really get out there, well, then the vegetation is going to grow up in it because the stuff loves growing when it's wet,
Mhm.
So then it'll grow up chest high. You can't mow it because the mower can't get in there. You got more problems. You compound your problems. So out in some of the prime solar spots out west, they don't have that. They don't get
Mhm.
much rain. They don't have much vegetation. Matter of fact, the biggest part, one of the hardest things is getting vegetation to grow when you're done.
Yeah.
Like to try to stabilize the earth,
Yeah,
trying
that
to
makes
get
sense.
something to grow, but nothing grows out there. There wasn't nothing when you got there. It's like a few cactuses and some tumbleweeds. Like, that's all there is. And so, well, it's a different set of problems out west and back here for sure.
Yeah. And how much more common has solar gotten in like the last like 20 years?
Oh man, it's blowing up right now.
Really?
Yeah, it's blowing up. It's
Are they even still doing like wind turbines or anything?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah. You don't see them a lot around here for the same reason you don't see a lot of solar. There's too many trees.
Yeah.
Even if there was a good wind around here, you wouldn't feel it because there's
Yeah.
400 trees between you and a gust of wind. So, but out there, you get a good flat land for a couple miles. The wind's got time to pick up speed.
Yeah.
And so, almost everywhere you go, if you're building solar, there's already wind turbines there, or
Mhm.
they're putting in wind turbines. Like, it's just you see them together. a
Yeah.
lot.
I've heard some people were talking on an interview that I watched, and they were just talking about how damaging those things are to the environment, just because once you get rid of them, once they're done, or once they're out of commission, or maybe when the lease is up, like we were talking about earlier, you got these freaking 800 feet tall stacks of metal that you got nothing to do with them. So they either like drop them in the ocean, or they freaking drop them on the ground. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I've seen them trying to bury those big turbines in landfills and whatnot. I'm not sure what they make those things out of, but I don't know that they've figured out how to recycle all the components yet. They're getting better at it with solar. There's getting to be a lot of recycling modules now,
Mm-hmm.
and so I had to do some research on that when we had a bunch of broken modules at Fern. What do we do with these things now that they're done, right? And so back in the old days, they just crush them up and take the metal off of them,
Mhm.
and the rest of it was scrap.
Yeah.
And then they figured out that was not okay because they were making freaking tens of millions of these things.
Yeah.
You got to do something with them. You can't just
Right.
throw all this shit away. And so now they've got facilities that break them down into their bare components.
Okay.
They get the aluminum off the frame. They get the glass out of it.
Yeah.
They break down every portion of it, try to get as many elements back, and I think they can reclaim something like high 90s, 95% of the module, which is better.
Yeah, for certain.
Do something with all that material. But yeah, I don't know that they're quite there with wind turbines yet. I'm not sure. I don't know what the blades are made of. I don't know if it's a recyclable material.
I have no idea, but with how they're able to break down the solar panels, it's got to be better. Like we were talking about earlier, they take out solar panels after like a 35-year lease. Yeah. It's got to be better for the environment. Taking that stuff out, they're able to get rid of it and actually restore the land.
Yeah.
And then you reuse most of that. So
yeah.
I guess that is a big plus.
They also do repowers now.
What's that?
A repower is so when solar farms, I don't know if you remember, you would have been young, when they first started popping up around here a long time ago, those were some of the first ones being built. They're very small, 1-2 megawatts, just small little sites, take up a few acres of land. And the technology isn't really where it is now. Learned a lot building those early sites, and so a lot of them failed prematurely. Components weren't really what they should have been. Site wasn't really up to snuff, and so they never made it to their end of lifespan. And so coming up on a lot of the end of life of those now, even the ones that may have made it to their end of lifespan, you're coming to the end of the first generation of solar farms. And so they figured out that a lot of those components on the site are still usable. Maybe some of the string wire, the piles that are still in the ground, the racking is fine. And so they repower them. If the modules got some life in them, they'll just put new inverters out there and continue collecting electricity.
Okay.
If the modules are going bad, put new modules and new inverters and continue collecting electricity. You're basically using the existing infrastructure to make a functional solar plant. Right. And it's cheaper than tearing it all down and starting over again, or just tearing it all down and throwing it away, just to make some more money off of it. That's just getting to be a thing now. Like another business model is to do these repower up these old solar farms. And I imagine as many as we're building now, in another 20, 30 years, it'll be a real big thing.
Yeah.
Right? This land that now nobody wants to farm anymore. And it's got 300 megawatts of solar sitting on it. We're let's just repower it back up.
Yeah.
'Cause these modules, they degrade every year. Like every year they make a little less electricity than they made the year before. They're like any other thing, they wear out. And so, by the end of the life of a project, you're not making but a fraction of what you were 30 years ago. So, yeah, repowers are going to be the thing in the future. One day we'll probably be doing, there's only so much land to develop, right?
Yeah.
So one day when you've run out of all the land to put solar farms, you'll just be repowering solar farms, I feel like.
Yeah. Do you ever see those, I always love the memes, those idiots that are looking at wind turbines thinking they're there to treat global warming.
I haven't seen that. That's fantastic, though.
They're like, man, you got to put one of these fans out. The Earth's getting hot.
Big old fan.
I tell you, that's one of my favorite things that's popped off, and at least since I've been growing up, is meme culture.
Oh, memes are fantastic. I was sitting there the other day talking to Kenneth, and I was laughing. Somebody, you always look at somebody laughing on their phone. You want to know what they're doing. He's like, "What are you doing, man?" I was like, "I don't know. I just love the internet." There is some good. I don't know how people think this shit up.
Yeah, no, they're really creative minds.
Yeah, it would take me a long time of looking at my phone to come up with some of these freaking digs that these people think up. Man, they think up some really horrendous shit. And the worse the joke, the more I like it. Like I try to follow the little pages that are just really brutal. Yeah. Because then you get in the comment section.
Oh, yeah.
That's where the real fun is. See a brutal meme. And somebody comes in there like, this is offensive. And they're like, fuck you. You're like, look at the page you're on. Get the fuck out of here.
I think it's super awesome how most memes, obviously, or just any jokes, online jokes like that in general, adapt with pop culture. Yeah. Most of the captions that you see on these memes or GIFs or whatever is from new movies that have just come out, so it still stays updated. but every now and then you'll get a meme with a caption, and then it's got Jack Nicholson from The Shining, where he's like frozen at the very end.
Throwback, like a throwback. Yeah, those are the best.
So it's pretty funny to see. Do you remember like whenever stuff like that started to pop off?
Oh, man.
Surely.
Memes. Like, hey, I remember the first time seeing a meme, and I didn't know how to say it. Like, I was like, is this a meme? Like, what is it? What is this? I remember somebody mentioned it. Like, I had seen the pictures with the little captions before. I didn't know it had a name. Like, what is this thing here? It's just an insult. Basically. But, yeah, I mean, probably around the time of Facebook and smartphones, I guess.
Yeah, like 2004.
Yeah, it's really weird because you think of these phones now, and like it's almost hard to remember a time without them.
Yeah,
because they've been around for a little bit now. But really, most of my life we didn't have smartphones. You had the flip phones, or you had the big Nextel brick phones, and so I think 2000 and I worked at Grifols before I had a smartphone.
Really?
I worked there for like a year. I remember asking one of the girls, I was like, what is with this phone here? Like, why do you pay so much money to own this phone? Tell me what is better about it. And I remember her flipping and showing me. She's like, you see all these right here? These are called apps. These things are fantastic. And I was like, I don't know. But now, I remember, I don't know. After having one for a while, back when they were popular, I was like, I don't know. I'm going to go away from this. I'm going to go back to a flip phone. I'm done with this nonsense. And I went back to a flip phone, and I was like, this blows. Like, this sounds awful.
Fuck this.
Text me 20 minutes to send one line text. Like, click, 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 click. You ever try to text on an old school phone?
Yeah, those are pretty
clicks
rough.
for one letter. Oh, it's brutal.
Or if you're real lucky, you got the BlackBerry that slides to the side.
I think I switched for like a month. I was like, I can't live like this anymore. Once you've tasted greatness, you can't go back.
Yeah, the innovation on that stuff really holds you to it, because, I mean, there's got 99% of people are hooked on the new designs. I mean, there's got to be a large percentage of people that only have like the last one or two generations of smartphones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's what
I was reading not long ago. I can't remember who it was. One of these tech gurus, and they were talking about how smartphones are going to be phasing out in the next few years, and it's going to be glasses.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he actually did like a little demo of how it was going to work, and like he had on these glasses. And so, what I think of when I see that is the Iron Man suit, right? When he's looking at the heads-up display inside of his helmet, that's what it looked like. Yeah. Like, you're seeing the world, but you're also seeing like this overlaid image of everything you want to access, and like, and my first thought was, well, how do you access all of this, right? How do you? But then he started doing like hand gestures. Like, it recognizes your hand gestures. Like, he was just moving his hands over here to the side and like clicking and sliding and doing things, and like it was moving shit in his glasses, and I was like, well, that's pretty funny. Like, I mean, imagine, you ever been laid on the couch before and holding your phone, and you're like, I want to look at my phone, I feel like holding it in my face, and my pinky finger's tired. Yeah. And like, what if you just had your glasses on? Just flip, flip, flip. Yeah. Great.
Yeah. So a big thing that's been going on maybe the past year is Mark Zuckerberg has been working with Ray-Bans to generate those glasses and create this augmented reality. And, they have a recording feature on it. And, you just see somebody wearing glasses. They might be recording everything that you do. So, Joe Rogan, he's got his, his mothership comedy club. They don't allow phones or anything in there. He said they've had to start cracking down on Ray-Bans because people are in there using the crazy glasses.
There's going to be a time, man, where pretty much everything you do is recorded.
Yeah.
There's going to be eventually, like, I mean, and you can already see it happening. Well, what was the first couple of smartphones? You took 10 pictures on it, your memory was full. Now they got these freaking 32 gig, 64 gig, 128 gig.
8,000 photos.
Yeah, hold every photo you've ever taken in your life. Like, eventually, you're going to get to be where you're not even storing data anymore on your device. It's all just going straight to the cloud. There's a satellite over every inch of the earth. Like, so there will be unlimited data that you can. So why not just record everything every day? That way, anything happens of a day, if it happens to be cool, I can just go back and look at it, right? You might record 10,000 hours of useless shit to get 5 seconds of somebody tripping and busting
gold,
their ass.
yeah.
But it's worth it if I can get it on video. So I
Some-
think one day when these phones or when these glasses are the new phone, you'll be under constant surveillance.
Oh yeah.
And it'll be by the general population.
Yeah, not even by the government.
No.
It's big pharma.
Yeah.
It's by your brother and your sister.
And we're all about watching the government. The government's got this. We'll just be recording each other.
Yeah.
Then you're basically, I mean, if it's recorded and it's on the cloud somewhere or another, I have all ideas they have access to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There'll be no part of your life that's private anymore. Like it's just all open at that point.
Yeah, I one of the things that really opened my eyes about this topic was Elon Musk was talking one time, and he says, "Yeah, we're pretty much already cyborgs," and they're like, "Well, what do you mean?" He's like, "Well, cyborg is a human combined with technology." He said, "The only difference between us and a cyborg is that it's not implanted in our body." He's like, "We're pretty much integrated with this piece of machinery every day of our lives, and everything that we do is based on it. It pretty much functions with us, and we can't function without it." So he's like, we've pretty much made ourselves into cyborgs without even realizing it.
Yeah.
And with stuff like him, have you seen that that device he made for that paralyzed individual?
Oh, the Neuralink.
Yeah, Neuralink.
Yeah, Neuralink's crazy.
That's cyborg 101. Like, that's how you get there.
That's the first step. I think it's still in its infancy. They're working on it, and it'll be decades of them still working on it. But if they ever get it to do what it wants to do, like, it's pretty incredible, like the aspirations they have for this stuff. And I remember Elon talking about it one time, and Joe Rogan was talking about how, like, basically this thing eventually, becomes what they want it to. She would be able to access anything in your brain. You access it instantly, like you could on Google, right? Just as fast as you could look at and search it, it's there
on the line
at your fingertips. And basically what they were talking about was if AI gets to the point where it's sentient, right, and like it is aware, he's like, I would rather have the Neuralink and be like slave helper to the AI than be like just a normal person. At least maybe I can keep up a little bit,
Yeah, at least I'm step one.
Yeah, maybe be useful in some sort of capacity. Just a normal human is going to be useless at some point.
It's insane, especially whenever you look at movies like Terminator or something like that. Yeah. Who we pretty much predicted our downfall, and we're like, we'll just keep going,
keep working towards it.
Who was it? I think it was Elon Musk, and there was someone else. They considered him the godfather of AI, and I can't remember his name, but they said, how did you manufacture this thing? It almost seems like a living, thinking thing. How did you design this? He's like, well, we didn't. He's like, we built the code. He said it designed itself. And you see all these stories about ChatGPT, like what people use for homework. Yeah. Someone made an experiment. They tried to delete ChatGPT. Well, what it did was it copied itself and tried to revive itself in another version of itself. Yeah. So that's proof that this internet this application that you've created is functioning at a desire to not die at all costs.
Yeah.
And what do you think happens whenever it gets control of humans or weapon systems or anything like that? It's going to survive at all costs.
It's not a stretch. No. It's not even a wrong assumption to think that we are the worst thing for the planet.
Yeah.
Humans in general. Like, everything we touch, we destroy, right? Yeah, we expand, we grow. We're like a virus. Like they said it best in the Matrix. He's like, whenever you humans, you occupy or consume all your resources in one place, you just spread to a new place. He's like, that's when I decided you weren't actually a mammal. You followed the pattern of a virus. Yeah. That's what we are. We're like a virus, right? We're taking over the planet a little bit at a time. And so if I was a machine and I was self-aware and I was learning at an exponential rate, I would be like, well, these people these are the worst things for the planet, so they should probably go away. Yeah. Step one, let's get rid of them, and then we can have a decent planet.
Yeah, and there's been so many debates with people who are greatly, integrated with the founding of AI and greatly integrated with its functioning and its application in the real world, like Elon Musk and that individual I can't remember, he said he warned them of the dangers. He said you must proceed with extreme caution if you proceed at all.
Yeah.
You know, and they're like, yeah, let's make it with glasses, like put it on my face.
Right.
I want it in all systems of government. I want it in this and that. And it's slowly becoming so normalized. 2 years ago, I thought AI existed only in science fiction.
Yeah.
I thought I could have only read that in a Stephen King novel. You know what I mean? And now,
use it every day.
I can't even look at Instagram reels without seeing AI memes that you can't even recognize anymore. I saw it was these news reporters, and they were talking about this tragedy that happened. And then at the very end of the video, it said, "Oh yeah, we're AI, by the way. This isn't real." That's not cool.
I think we're just a few short years away, if even that long, from not being able to distinguish photos and video. Right now, you can kind of see, right? If you really study a photo, you know what I mean? Like, they might have the extra finger, the AI fingers, or they might have like this. There's this real polished look to an AI image that doesn't quite fit with it.
It's got 6 fingers.
As fast as AI is learning, I think we're just a short couple of years away from not being able to distinguish real images anymore.
I agree.
And if it gets to that, what happens in the courtroom when we're using videos for helping to
distinguish evidence?
Yeah, evidence. I think we're really getting ourselves in a position where, like, for example, the other day, think about all the things that they can do on a computer. Amber was talking about it. I didn't realize you could do this. I didn't even know this was a thing. Hannah needed to deposit a check for work, and Amber just took a picture of it and send a check in and then deposit a check. And I was there thinking, like, took a picture of the check. Like, there's no watermarks, no checking this thing in any actual, just a picture of it. Like, you know what people can do with digital data these days? Like, it almost seems like that seems like printing money to me. Like, if I could just take a picture of my $100 bill and send it to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I got this money here. I'll just take a picture of it and send it to you. Like, that should be sufficient, right?
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. It needs to be managed.
Yeah.
There has to be people who are smarter than us, than the people who use it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People at least able to make us feel safe. I don't feel very safe whenever Elon's out there like, yeah, don't use it. Like, or it's going to be our downfall.
Yeah. No.
I mean,
I've heard him talk about it many times.
Yeah, it's like that. It's like that quote. I can't remember who said it, but it was. So I don't know what World War III will be fought with, but I know that World War IV will be fought with sticks and stones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's exactly like that. Because, like I said, we've
destroy everything.
We've predicted our downfall,
Yeah.
and who knows? One of my favorite ideas is whenever you go into that tangent, you're like, well, I wonder if that's the first time it's happened. You know, there's been talk of ancient civilizations where maybe this isn't the first civilization that grew to advanced technologies. You know,
Right.
So
maybe it's happened years ago and we just destroyed ourselves already, and now we're coming back for round 2.
And now we're back.
It's like in. Did you watch any of the Matrix movies?
Yep, I watched all of them. I think we watched them together.
I think it was the third one, right? Where I can't remember if it was the second one or the third one. When they were talking to the machine, and it was the third one for sure. They're talking to the architect, right? The one who invented the Matrix, or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's basically like, "This is the 7th time we've destroyed Zion, and we're becoming increasingly more efficient at it." You know what I mean? Like, it's a cycle. It's on repeat. So if we do, let's say we create AI and it destroys us, or we destroy the world in the process, like, it'll come back. Like, do it again. We don't learn.
Yeah.
We never learn.
Yeah.
we just, do whatever's best. We do whatever is the easiest for us, which is what we think is the best for us. It's not. It's never is. The easiest thing, is never the best.
Yeah, it's tough because sometimes you, obviously, like, whenever you're Christian or whatever, you will believe what the Bible says. Like, this is when the earth was made. This is how civilization started. This is where we began.
Right.
And then you see something like the pyramids of Giza, and you're like, well, wait a second. You're like, you're telling me
that's crazy
that there's 2.3 million blocks in the pyramid, and hundreds of tons, all of it weighed. Yeah, what do you think got it there?
Right.
Like, if you they is laser cut precision and stone cutting that they had stone tools. Like
Right.
if you're expecting me to believe that this is just something, like they just figured it out and then we just never got it. The rest of the world never got it later on.
Yeah.
Like maybe that is proof of some sort of advanced civilization with advanced technology that ended up wiping ourselves out, and now we're reviving and starting again, and we're going to get there once more. It's a pretty cool theory, at least.
I think one thing things have changed so much in the past 100 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
You look at the past 100 years and you see the way things have changed, and you think, wow, things must have always changed like this, right? But there was a long period of time where things really didn't change like that.
Mm-hmm.
Things kind of stayed the same.
Yeah.
We didn't really. Well, I guess it took years to build on these inventions for it to snowball like it did in the past 150 years. And so I think one thing that people underestimate is how long they had to do this work, right? Imagine not just you living 80 years, but your kid living 80 years, and their kid living 80 years, and their kid, and all of you slaves doing the same thing. Like, you're working on the same project for 8 generations, 10 generations.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not just you, tens of thousands of other people just like you. This is your whole sole purpose of a day, is to wake up and chisel this damn block down to the shape, and then, hook it up to a pack of camels and drag it. I don't know how they move these things. Like, I know they floated them down the river some. Like, I'm sure it was manual labor. I'm sure there was animals involved. But if you lived your whole life and all you ever did was get 10 blocks chiseled and drove over to this place and put it in place, but there's a million of you doing it. Like it adds up over over generations of years, and there was thousands of years where we really didn't do anything else.
Yeah,
we're just kind of stagnant.
It wasn't even probably till the 1700s really things started kicking off with stuff that mattered.
Yeah, and so when you think about it like that, we never think about time that way. Time hasn't passed for us like that. But those people, they were kind of locked into this period. So they had an immense amount of time to do this. Yeah. And you would be amazed at what a group of people can do with that much time. And so I'm kind of torn between, like, maybe aliens come down and helped out, or maybe we were just really fucking stubborn. And we sat on this, like, I'm going to build this pyramid, and you're going to build it for me. And, like, I'm going to whip your ass every day until you get it done. And it's just how they went on for years.
That's a good way to look at it. I guess I never thought that, like you said, obviously now we have advances in civilization and all these innovations. We get a new iPhone every year, you know what I mean? But back then, it's not like wheat was getting any different, like,
no, it was the same shit for hundreds and thousands of years. Like, nothing changed really.
Interesting.
They might have a few developments. For the most part, they were all just the same. Yeah. Like, everything is just, they're building these structures. In Rome, Rome was crazy looking back in the day, but they didn't. You always hear Rome wasn't built in a day. No, it was built over a long ass time, like a really long time.
Yeah. And you look at, the Colosseum. That almost looked like something that could never be created, by humans. But we know that it was.
Yeah. Look at what we've done to America since we've been here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Look at, what were we? 1776, right?
Yeah.
1776. Look at it now. It's unrecognizable.
Yeah.
We developed every fucking inch of this country. Like, we're developing more of it all the time.
Yeah.
Like, there is shit everywhere. You wouldn't have thought it would be possible to do what we've done, and even with technology, even with all the advancements and the computers and everything, you wouldn't think it was possible to do what we've done in this country.
Yeah,
it's a couple hundred years. We have, So what if we had 2,000 years?
Yeah.
What would it look like then?
That's a good point.
Yeah. The people that come after us after AI wipes us off the face of the earth, they're gonna be like, damn, these must have been some aliens. Like, this is some crazy shit. Can you imagine walking into Manhattan after you've been spearing, lions in the jungle and walking in Manhattan, like, good God, somebody built this place. Look at it. Yeah, this is impressive.
Yeah, I'd be pretty I'd be pretty worried if I was like if our civilization was wiped out now and we were restored. I'd be pretty let down by some of the stuff that we created. Yeah, we got these giant buildings and everything, but wait, I got a freaking video game that jerks you off as you hold it. You know what I mean? Like, don't worry, we built that too. Like, we got everything
We
covered.
built everything. If you can think of it, we built it.
Yeah. like some of the stuff we built, I couldn't even imagine bringing it to someone in like the Victorian times.
Oh,
You
my
know what
God.
I mean?
Yeah. It's pretty embarrassing, some of the stuff we've done. Some of the stuff we're still doing. Some of the stuff we're going to keep doing.
It's, you know what's crazy though is that I obviously my whole life I've never had any sort of interest in aliens or anything until maybe like 2 weeks, and I'm not saying I believe or just whatever, you know, just the story. But have you ever heard of the story of Bob Lazar and Jeremy Corbell?
No.
So they made a movie about it. Jeremy Corbell was the director of the movie
Right.
about Bob Lazar, but apparently in maybe like the 80s, 90s, Bob Lazar was a scientist that got called in to work at Area 52 and
Area 51.
Area 51, yeah, my
Yeah.
bad. I was thinking of Planet 52. Area 51, and he was studying these aircrafts. He said that this aircraft would hover above the sky, do these advanced maneuvers, and then he said they land it. And he said that he didn't know much about it. He said they wouldn't tell him anything about it. He said his entire job was to work on this reactor that pretty much defied gravity. If you turned it on, you couldn't get near it. You know,
Right, yeah.
you couldn't. You know, it wouldn't work. It was repelling you away. He's called it anti-gravity.
Right.
But he said that was what powered the aircraft. He said he didn't know how they got it. He said he got in the aircraft one time to study it, and he said that there was nothing that looked familiar. He said he couldn't understand it at all. He said it was very small, like small creatures had to fit inside of that. And then he said that he didn't know how they got it, but the only thing that he did see were like almost like bullet holes or something along those lines. It had been in almost like a battle.
Right.
And then they found these. They, quote, found these things in like an archaeological dig.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, it's a lot to unpack here, because they made a movie on it. They had several accounts. He had so many views and so many points that he had made that everyone tried to disprove. And over the past 20 years, they've all been proven. They've all been proven correct.
Right.
It's just so hard to look at it and say, yeah, aliens, and then like, yeah, aliens. You know what I mean? Like there's two sides of this. I really wish I was there, but he says that he, on account, has brought they fired him eventually because they wanted him to have like a steady home life, and his wife thought that he was cheating on her. He wasn't, but she went out and started having sex with this other dude,
Right.
and so they fired him because they were worried his home life would be in ruins.
Right.
And so after that, he was like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna take people over here and show them what I saw." And
Right.
he'd take them over to the site in, I can't remember, I think it was like Nevada or something like that. And he said that every person that he brought over here witnessed these exact same things, the same maneuvers with the aircraft whenever they were testing it. And Jeremy Corbell, the director, also wanted to not believe him. He said he tried to disprove him every way. He said he contacted every person that he had met and brought to this site. He said they all said the exact same thing. And it's just crazy. Like, I'm telling you, they've made so many videos on it. He's done so many interviews. It's ruined his life. Like, it's so hard for me to believe that this dude would destroy his life over a lie.
Right.
He didn't get any money out of it. He's not rich.
Nothing from it.
Yeah, you know, and Jeremy Corbell was like, what the hell? Like, this can't be real, but why is this guy doing this? And he eventually,
look that up.
Eventually gotten to the point where he was like, everything this man has said has to be true.
Right.
Because he had made all of these scientific claims that everything about all of the technology that he was witnessing, and everyone was like, that doesn't exist. You know, the laws of physics disprove that entirely.
Right.
And he's like, well, it happened. This is what I saw. Take it or leave it. And it's all been proven. He said every single thing that he's written and has spoken out of in public has all been proven.
Well,
And
if you think about this, just the probability, right? There's millions of suns, if not billions of suns, just like ours, floating around the galaxy, you know, and every one of them likely has planets just like ours
Mhm.
floating around it. It's and the universe is constantly expanding.
Mhm.
Like just think trillions of possible planets. So good, the probability that we're the only ones to survive, like we're the only ones to make it.
Mhm.
Like nobody else could have done it. We did it. It's it's very low odds.
Yeah.
That there's not something out there now. Whether any of them have developed like, traveled where they can reach distances like this, we would be incredibly far apart, millions of miles apart.
Mhm.
Who knows? But it's almost harder to believe that something doesn't exist.
Mhm.
Whether we found it or not, I don't know. I heard Elon Musk say one time that up until this point, there's been no evidence of alien life, and he said that if anybody were to have found it, it would have been him.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe he's right, but maybe he just haven't found it yet.
Yeah, it's
You know what I mean?
and it's like the fundamental question of extraterrestrial life is, are we alone? And if the answer is yes, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
And are we alone? If the answer is no, that's also really terrifying.
Also
It's
terrifying.
like either way, it's a double-edged sword. Either we're the only things that have made it here so far, or there's something out there that we have just not uncovered yet, and it's
Right.
gonna be like Apollo 18 in here.
Yeah. At this point, I feel like they should come here and stop us from destroying ourselves. At least. Like, hey guys, we've done this a couple thousand years ago.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna want to like stop making nuclear weapons. Stop with AI. That's gonna end real bad.
This Jesus dude's gonna show up. Don't kill him.
Don't do this.
Yeah.
I think they. I think it was Joe Rogan the other day. We were talking about. He was like, at this point, I don't think it would be the worst thing for AI to take over. He's like, can't possibly fuck it up worse than we have. Like, there's
Yeah.
nothing they can do
Yeah.
that's worse than what we have already done. Like maybe they can save us. I don't know.
Well, at this time, I wouldn't even be, maybe there's not, human-like beings out there. Maybe they're not flying saucers like we read in comic books. But I wouldn't even be surprised if it was just like an alien parasite or an alien bacteria or just something that you realize is living somehow, even if it's like alien seaweed. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's living. It's technically a thing. Like you
Yeah.
know what I mean? I would consider that.
You would almost think there has to be.
Yeah.
I
But-
mean, there's got to be. I think I've read about them before, like planets that they believe are close enough to the sun that they could have enough warmth to survive, and that they could have, water oceans, and that they could, and that's really all the ingredients you need.
Yeah.
For life to thrive is you can't be scorching hot, and you have to have something for things to grow and survive, and so. It's hard to believe that of the trillions of planets out there, that at least one of them didn't meet those requirements, and
Yeah.
there's something alive on it.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying maybe it's not intelligent life, but like you said, bacteria, maybe they're in their dinosaur phase. I don't know. There's something out there, like something other than what space is. It's almost overwhelming to think about.
It's infinite. Yeah.
Like how much there is.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming to you. You can't even grasp it.
Yeah, if you look at I can't remember what they say, it was like the biggest star in our solar system.
Right.
They say there's like you could fit hundreds of millions of our suns in
Yeah.
that star. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then you think about, man, the sun's pretty damn big. And wait, sun's bigger than the Earth. I'm way smaller than that.
Yeah.
It almost gets to the point where you're like, what the hell am I doing here? Like, I'm here looking at memes on my phone. There's a galaxy that's 1 quadrillion times the size of the planet I'm on.
Yeah.
But it really makes you think. But I'm super interested to see what if Elon Musk does anything with that, because right now they're on a testing phase for, I forget the SpaceX craft, but he says one of the main things that they need to work on in order to make it to Mars and make that a feasible trip is continuous refueling. Not having like to take several days off to refuel and
Right.
restructure. And he said that the other thing was that not having heat shields and heat guards that melt every time you re-enter the atmosphere. So if you think about it, obviously you're going to the moon or you're going out in the atmosphere and you're hurtling back, it's getting really fucking hot, and then obviously all your shit's melting away. Thankfully you have oxygen where you're living, and you're not
Yeah.
getting sucked out whenever your stuff does start to melt down. But he said that those were the two main things that he thought would make the mission to Mars feasible. And he says that by next year he hopes to have it solved. Isn't that pretty crazy?
That dude's pretty crazy smart, man.
Yeah. I feel like we need more like him.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people don't like him because of the political stuff he's got into lately, but he can't deny what the dude has done.
Yeah.
It's the reason he's the richest man in the world.
Yeah.
Like, this just happened.
He's almost like $500 billion,
Yeah. And maybe he started out wealthy, but not that wealthy. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
He's done something that nobody else has been able to do. He's creating shit that nobody else has been able to create. It's amazing. But I think a lot of it has to do with, he's got Asperger's, and so it's like he's just hyper focused all the time. Like,
Mhm.
say that I've heard stories about him where it said, like, if you're engaged in a conversation with him and he doesn't feel like it's of value or beneficial, he'll just walk away. he won't acknowledge you. He'll just leave the conversation.
Yeah.
Like, it's just that like 100% focus all the time on the goal.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot more, we would benefit a lot more if we had more people like that who are these elites with infinite knowledge and infinite ways of creatively thinking, ways to innovate our way of life. And that's what he's done. I mean, SpaceX wouldn't be alive without him. Those astronauts that were stuck in, you remember the astronauts that were stuck in space?
Yeah.
They wouldn't even be freaking rescued without
so
SpaceX.
you're telling me that content creators aren't the future of the universe? Like, show my butthole online. This is not gonna save the human race.
I will say that content creators have done a lot for the entertainment business, but as far as creating a new way of life, they're probably not on the right track. Porn's taking a skyrocket, but they're not. Freaking porn stars aren't getting us to space.
OnlyFans isn't gonna get it done.
Dude, have you ever seen the breakdowns of how much people make on OnlyFans?
I don't understand it.
So, are you saying you actually don't understand how it works, right?
No, like, I don't understand who's paying this money.
Oh yeah.
Like, who has money to throw at these like, porn is free.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even put this out there on the internet for everybody to know. Porn is 100% free. You can find it free anywhere on the internet almost. Like, you don't have to pay people for it. It's crazy.
Yeah. It is insane because for a while, several months ago, this girl blew up, and obviously I think it was just her alias or stage name or whatever. She went by Sophie Rain, and she blew up because obviously the whole trend of understanding how much OnlyFans models makes was kind of on the rise, and people were getting more and more interested, and obviously that interest blew the market way up, and people were using it way more and spending way more money. But this particular individual blew up because one time she was on an interview or something with another creator, and they were like, full disclosure, you're a huge star on this application, on this website. Many people love to see your content. Like, what is like your annual salary? She said, I made $64 million this year.
Oh my God. $64 fucking $million.
Could you even imagine?
Showing your butthole.
Dude, I'd take a picture of my butthole right now if it meant I got $64 million. I'll show it to anyone. I go show it to the dean of my college. I'll do anything.
Who is paying this money? Because that's not money generated.
No. Yes, people paying.
People paid you that money.
Yeah.
Like, out of their paycheck that they worked all week for, they come here and paid that to you. I don't understand it. For what?
Yeah.
For what?
For something you get for
free.
People
to show you your butthole for free.
Or you just find a relationship, you can do it the natural way.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you could throw a handful of corn and hit a naked person. I don't get it. I can't imagine these people. And, like, in order for you to make $64 million, there's not 64 million people paying you $1 a piece. There's a few 100,000 people paying you thousands of dollars. Yeah. It's insane to me.
So, and someone else broke it down because they were talking about. They're like, OnlyFans isn't something that is, it's not like $100 for this photo or whatever. It's like $3. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Pay $3. Think of how many freaking people had to pay this $3 or pay your $20 subscription a month to see all this for you to get $64 million.
Yeah.
Like the numbers have to be incredible because they were talking
It's
about
not just that too, but I think they tip them. Like to go in there and like watching these videos or whatever they produce, and it's just like tipping them and stuff. Oh, like do this, I'll give you more money. Like
So
get it.
they generate revenue off the tips, but also they you can like chat with them. You can get on their OnlyFans and you can like get on their message board and you can talk to them. There's no way you're actually talking to this person. That's a bot.
Well, even if you are, like, how depressing is that?
Yeah,
like, I have to pay you all this money just so you just have a conversation with me. Like, I don't know. That's got to be the most soulless, soul-crushing thing to do. I can't even imagine.
Oh yeah, no, I just couldn't imagine, man. You've got to be like, you got to be grasping for straws.
Yeah, that's got to be a depressing life to live too.
Absolutely.
Like your whole purpose from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed is to trick these people into giving you their money.
Yeah.
Like, make them think you like them. Make them think you're all horny and worked up for
Yeah.
them. Like, and then you go to bed and you're like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah, well,
This is all
now I
cry,
just
cry into my pillow, wipe my face with these $100 bills.
well, now all I did today was have freaking 80 million 60-year-olds jerk off to me and pay me
God,
hundreds of dollars.
it's got to be bad. I can't imagine anybody liking that.
No.
Liking that life. It doesn't seem like a life you would enjoy.
I think some people try to hide behind the guise of their material worth that they get out of it.
Right.
And they got this new house because they got this new jet ski or whatever, and that will obviously create this facade that you're happy. I post on Instagram that I'm out here at the Bahamas whenever all I had to do is freaking demoralize myself. You know what I mean? I highly doubt there's no way that people actually believe that what they're doing is productive in any way.
Yeah.
Like, you have no life skills. All you are is pretty. Some of you aren't even pretty. And then 2, there's no way that they can generate that, forever.
Yeah, no,
Like, that's
off.
limited.
But I guess if you made $64 million in a year, how many? You don't have to do that for 4 years.
That's true. You probably retire.
Yeah, 1 year you should be good.
I think the saddest part of the entire thing is how early it is for how common it is for people to start early.
It's got to be early.
Yeah,
it's not going to be late.
Well, I mean early as in like there are people starting in high school.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's Hannah's age. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's insane that high school girls are thinking that they need this attention so bad that they can't like go to college and get a degree. No, I've got to freaking flash these old dudes online. Yeah, I gotta chat with them, and this it makes me sick thinking about it, dude. Like, I can't do it.
I
man.
think that's even worse than porn to me.
Yeah.
Porn
seems like an industry.
It is, and I know some of it gets a bad rap and whatever, but they're videoing this. They're in a studio, they're videoing it, and then they release a video like everybody else. Yeah, they're having sex, whatever. But it's not the con. Right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the live web shows and stuff like that is like an all day long con. That you gotta stay in character and fake all these people out all day, every day. You know what I mean?
The point of porn is to make the person watching it feel bad.
It seems like you're almost like living like a double life.
Yeah.
You have to be this fake person all day, every day. Because let me tell you, she didn't make $64 million by doing that 2 or 3 hours a day.
Yeah.
That's nonstop.
Yeah.
Like, you were this character, this person, all day.
Oh yeah.
All day, every day, like you're grinding.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It just sounds awful. I'd rather go back to Griffles and work night shift.
Yeah, it's pretty insane. I think this in general, some of the things people do for jobs now is pretty crazy. I love watching people outside at like Subway twirl a sign.
The sign twirling, that looks pretty terrible too. Like
there's a costume shop downtown. They make people dress up in the costumes and do the sign.
Oh,
I saw a dude out there. He was dressed up as the Statue of Liberty. He just pointing the sign. He's
Oh,
going
man,
crazy.
That sounds bad.
Like, dude, that has to be freaking. I could, because the way I think about everything, whether it was OnlyFans or whether it was spinning a sign or whether I was Elon Musk,
Yeah.
the way I think about it is if I had my parents come to work with me.
Yeah,
I'm,
yeah.
like,
Parents go, what would they think
yeah,
today? If they
like what would you think if you came over to Greenville and you think I'm doing all this stuff in school? You see me twirling a fucking sign for Halloween Express. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I just no, and that's why I think that a large majority of the people who do this have a very bad home life.
Yeah.
They probably don't have that sense of
No.
guilt or
Do
you know
anything
shame.
to pay, anything to pay them $1.
Yeah,
Same thing with illegal shit.
yeah.
Drug dealing, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody at home to say, hey, that's bad. You shouldn't
Yeah.
do this, or I'm gonna be disappointed if you do this, or you're gonna have to move out. You know, like
Mhm.
they just it's just $1, right? It's just a
Mhm.
way to make money. Doesn't care who it hurts or what it is. It's just another job. Matter of fact, it's a pretty good paying job.
Yeah.
It's charging you taxes. You may get shot, but you know you may get shot doing your job. So they're just making a lot more money doing it.
Yeah, that's true. I had too many scenarios where I thought I was gonna get shot. I'm tired of that. What amazes me, and I don't know if you experienced it while you were here, but dude, the amount of drugs that are in this town, it's insane.
I think it's every town.
You think so?
I think it's every town.
You think it's as concentrated as it is in like a college town?
I think it's everywhere, man. I think it's insane. I think you would be amazed if you knew everywhere that it was.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, I mean, it's every day, everywhere. If you're looking at the arrest reports, any town, just pick a random town on a map and look at their arrest reports for the week. It's all drugs.
Yeah.
They're either caught with drugs, caught selling drugs, caught stealing because they're addicted to drugs. Like, it's all drugs.
Yeah.
There's a reason that the cartels are like 170,000 people strong. Like,
Yeah.
they're just a huge business.
Mhm.
This shit is going everywhere.
Yeah.
And we'll celebrate when the Coast Guard catches a few hundred kilos of cocaine coming in.
Yeah. It's nothing.
That's nothing.
Mhm.
That's nothing. They lose that shit. They expect that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's part
They,
of their,
they probably gave that to
that's
you.
part of their business model.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're gonna give the Coast Guard 2,000 kilos. But yeah, it's everywhere, man. It's
Mhm.
literally everywhere. It's insane. And I don't know how long, if it's always been this way or if it's just getting more and more this way. Like, people love drugs.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They love it.
Yeah, there's a comedy skit. There was this guy. I don't know his name, but he was like, yeah, when I was a kid, I was a young comic. He's like, I was selling movie tickets outside. He said right next to me there was a dude who was selling cocaine. He said nobody came to me. He had a way better product than me. He's like, he's just better. He didn't have to persuade him. They just wanted it more. But so the story that I always bring up whenever I come to this situation, and it makes me sad sometimes when I think about it, is I tutored that girl who was in Alpha AO Pi. She was a sorority girl, very nice, and I was just studying her or helping her study for her stuff and getting her stuff straightened out during our tutoring sessions, and we always just bullshitted the whole time anyway, and that's probably why she did really bad in chemistry. but
shitty too.
So since she was part of the sorority, part of those groups, frats as well, you're required to go. You pay to be here. You got to go to these parties.
Right.
And she said, because she was a freshman, and she said, I've seen more cocaine in the first month of my time at ECU than I think anyone should ever have to see in their life. I'm like, that is insane.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. I believe it, man.
I mean, she's 18. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Getting exposed to something like that.
I believe it. That's what messes up all these young stars, right?
Yeah.
Exposed at such an early age, early teens, tweens. Like,
Mm.
they're seeing it too. Except all the people around them are filthy rich.
Mhm.
They get the better cocaine.
Yeah.
They get the good cocaine.
Yeah,
you
they
know
get
what
the
I
good
mean?
stuff.
So
It's like-
by the time when they get rich that early on in life, they don't even know what it's like to be normal.
It's like-
they never even had a period of time where they were normal. It was always this way.
It's like Shia LaBeouf or Miley Cyrus.
It's always this way. They're just screwed up from the get-go, and then they never recover.
Yeah.
Because obviously they're going to do drugs because everybody around them tell them to do drugs, and they're 12. So what are they going to say? No. Of course they're going to do drugs.
Yeah.
They're going to do what everybody else they have. They don't have any opinions of their own yet.
Yeah.
They're 12. So it screws them up. You'll see most of your stars who have really successful careers, and that you don't see them have these implosions that all these celebrities tend to have. They got famous later.
Yeah,
a
like
little
Justin
later,
Timberlake or something.
A little later in life. And the fame come on them gradually once they were a little bit older and they had time to learn to cope with it. You know, when you get hit with it really super early in life, I think it ruins most, not all of them. I think it ruins most of them. You know, this little girl that you're talking about, she may be the same. You know what I mean? So that's a lot at 18 years old.
Yeah.
You know,
Not to mention you think it's cool or whatever.
Fall into it, man. That cocaine habit just don't go away. This doesn't heal itself. That's a lifelong problem. There's lots of people who never get over that, and then they get into the cocaine's a party drug, right? Well, then they one day that's not enough. Get into something a little heavier than that.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, you're the damn meth head on the corner scratching their skin off. Right? It's the only thing that'll get you there anymore. Is the hardest shit.
Yeah.
Maybe get you some heroin, you know. But it is literally everywhere, man. It's all over the place.
Yeah, and it one of the biggest lies, the biggest piece of bullshit I ever got fed growing up was people try to justify, you know, they're like, you know, man, we's not addictive. Yeah. Okay. Neither is heroin, dude. Just shoot that shit up. Like the biggest thing that I always hated was I think they tried to argue that there was no addictive chemicals, and maybe there's not. Maybe there isn't, because I've looked at some studies and some say it's not. But you know what is addicting? The feeling of being numb.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just had a bad day at work. Let me smoke this J here. I won't feel that shit ever again. You know what I mean? And then you're
that's what
hooked.
you're chasing. That's what you're chasing. This feeling of you know, dissolving your problems away.
Yeah.
Everything's gone. This is make me feel better for the day.
Yeah.
Once you're using drugs or alcohol or any substance, once you're using it to escape, that's when it just becomes a problem. Like, it's one thing if you're going to go to the beach and it's nice outside, I'm going to have a few beers and sit out by the ocean and relax, you know. But when you can't relax without the beer anymore, the beer's the only reason you can relax, now you got a problem. Like, if that's what it is if they're selling you this fake escape, you know, out away from life, you buy into that shit and you've got a lot of problems.
Yeah. That was one reason I was you know, it was shitty at the time or whatever, but looking back, I was very thankful that me and Kendall had ended our relationship, because everywhere we went, obviously we were underage.
Yeah.
She just wanted to drink everywhere we went and go to all these parties and things. I didn't want to go to them.
Yeah.
I didn't like them.
Yeah.
But then I was there, you know.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? You know. So then I was there doing it, and I was like, this is just dumb. You know, like I feel dumb. Like compared, I feel like, because I was, one thing I hated whenever I was in that state was I wasn't in school. I was looking at Zach being in school. Yeah. And I was like, this dude's going and getting his education. He's doing all these classes. He's Dean's List every freaking semester. Here I am at these dumbass parties. Like, I don't even like these people. Yeah. You know, they don't like me. Why am I here? I'm trying to prove this popularity contest like it matters. Yeah. You know what I mean? Oh, but if I get fucked up off this Jack Daniels, you know, I'll
be better.
Have a great time. Like, I hated watching that spiral, because even with, I love Mike. I saw it in Mike too, man. Yeah. Dude can't go anywhere without alcohol, and it just sucks.
Yeah, it becomes such a big part of your life. You know?
Yeah.
It's like your social lubricant.
Yeah.
You don't know how to interact with it anymore. And I get it, man. Been places before where, like, I knew I was going to be uncomfortable, and that was the way I was going to tolerate it, you know. Mm-hmm. But one thing I never had was the urge to do it over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Well, we had a pretty good time up at the beach this last weekend. Mm-hmm. Drank a lot. And the next day, the first thing I could think of was, man, it's going to be a long time before I do this again. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, the much time we put into ourselves, like fitness and diet. And
yeah.
Like it feels like a day or two of drinking ruins all of that.
Yeah.
I feel like
Gone.
it just you feel like shit. You're all bloated. You don't look like you're supposed to. Like
Yeah.
you're weak.
Mm-hmm.
You're just dehydrated. You just everything you've been
Sluggish.
working on
Yeah.
for months.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I looked the best I had looked in a while when I got to the beach this last time. And I had trained to get there, right? But after being at the beach for a week, I felt and looked like shit. Like in 1 week, it took to undo. I'm not saying it's all undone, but
Yeah.
felt like it undid
Yeah.
everything I had.
Because
to
then
get
you,
there.
you feel all the alcohol in your stomach. You feel the freaking shit on your
Yeah.
breath.
You just
You-
feel
like,
disgusting.
You look at yourself. You're like, man, I haven't worked out in 2 days. Like, I've been over here at the beach soaking up the sun and my freaking vodka, and I don't even feel human anymore. I just feel like one big liquor cabinet.
I always tell Amber, like, that was my addiction. I got into weightlifting really early on, and that became what I went to, right? Whenever things got bad, I had a bad day, had a bad week, bad marriage.
Yeah.
Whatever you had that was bad, that's where I went. Because,
Mhm.
you know, when you can get in there and get your headphones jamming and you're dead into a freaking pump, like, you can turn all that shit off.
Oh yeah.
I can turn everything. I don't think about anything in the gym.
No.
It's just dead space.
Yep.
All I'm thinking about is this muscle contraction I'm in right
Mhm.
now. Am I squeezing it's like I should be?
Mhm.
How's my form right now? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Am I leaning one this way too much? Am I standing up
Yeah.
straight? Am I squeezing like I should on every single rep? You know,
Absolutely.
what's my count right now?
Yeah.
How many sets I'm on? How many reps I'm on? Like that's all I am in there. And when you can go in there and crush your body for an hour or 2 hours like that, and check out mentally for the whole time, I leave refreshed. Every time.
That's better than the alcohol to me, because I finished, this whole semester I was just killing myself every single day. It was hell, and I had no break until I got to the gym, and then all this stuff, all these assignments hit my head, and then as soon as I put in my earbuds, it all went away. Even if it was just for an hour and a half, like it was still
Background
gone.
noise.
Yeah, and it was all I needed, because as soon as I got out, I'm like, man, I just feel better. You know what I mean? Like, I can't even express how upset it makes me sometimes to watch people not take advantage of the time that they have. If working out was a pill, everyone would take it.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite lines.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If cognitive performance, physical prowess, being mentally sharp, being fast, being strong, being good looking.
Yeah.
If that was a pill, dude, that'd be the
Sell it fast enough,
yeah,
yeah.
no, like nobody would contest it. But since it takes sweat, or since it takes
Time.
muscles burning, since it takes getting up and walking driving to the gym, it takes your time away with your whatever. That it is now like this. Some people almost shame you for it. You know what I mean?
I had a
It's
guy one
almost
time tell me that he couldn't justify going to the gym, and he couldn't believe that I spent as much time going to the gym. He's got a family at home that's waiting on him to get home, and I was like, "But you look like shit. You're 50 pounds overweight.
Yep.
You're sick all the time.
Mhm.
Like you're on 3 different medications at 35. Like,
yeah,
yes, I might lose an hour in the evenings with my family, but I may be gaining years. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you're losing years. Look at you. You're killing yourself right now. You
Mhm.
look terrible.
absolutely.
And it's not even just that. Like, I am more than my family,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
I'm a human
You're
being.
human, yeah.
I am more than just robotically coming home to my family. I am more than my job. I am more than that. There is always be a piece of me. It's just me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what weightlifting is.
Mhm.
That's me, right? If you had to boil me down to my simplest elements, that's one of them.
Mhm.
I like it. I do it. I've always said that I do it for the look, and that's probably true. But I think at this point, if I never looked any better at all, I think I'd still do it.
Yeah.
I just want to be in there doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I miss it when I'm not in there. I think about it. I sit around and, at night and program my workouts in my
Mhm.
head and think about how I'm going to do, what I'm going to do. I watch videos of other people who are better at it than me, so
Yeah.
that I can learn.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I love watching Jay Cutler.
Yeah.
He's my new favorite lately. Like, he posts a lot of content.
Mhm.
I love watching him. I don't agree with everything he says, We've probably been lifting weights similar amount of time. Obviously, he's had a much more successful career than I had. I don't agree with everything he does, but like his results are undeniable.
Yeah.
You know, what a dude was able to do.
Absolutely.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, I told Emery the other day, I was like, if I was a kid and I was on the Make-A-Wish, like, it would be to talk to Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, I don't want to just talk to him like, I want to go lift some weights with this
Yeah.
dude. Like, let's go. I want to go to, like, Muscle Beach
Yep.
in Venice. Like, me and you rip our shirts off and do some bench press. Like, that's what I want to do.
Absolutely.
That would be my lifetime achievement.
Yeah.
But
I get that.
Yeah, it's just it's something I've always enjoyed, and I enjoyed it early.
Yeah.
My dad showed me how to lift weights when I was 10 or 11. I think it was 11. And I wasn't long after that, him and my mom were having trouble, and so there were some times when he wasn't at the house as much, and it was, I would go out there and lift it. He told me 3 days a week. That's what he thought, was you're supposed to lift 3 days a week. And so when it came to my day of the week, I went out there religiously. We didn't even have walls on that gym at that time. It was just a roof and a clay floor. It didn't have concrete poured yet. But I would go out there and do my exercises that he showed me. He showed me a handful of exercises. It wasn't long it wasn't long at all where I felt guilty if I didn't go out there.
Yeah.
And nobody made me feel that. That wasn't something, the guilt that was put on me.
Yeah.
That was internal.
Mm-hmm.
And it never went away.
Mm-hmm.
No, I still got it. I'm 42 years old. If I skip the gym, tomorrow, I'll be upset about it. I know you know the feeling.
Yep. Yeah, because I had I didn't spend much time with Laurel yesterday, and I felt bad because my buddy left for mountain school today, so I had to take him to the airport, like I said, and I just got home, so I wanted to spend time with her. I didn't go to the gym. I wanted to do a track workout, but my calves feel like I got a freaking roll of quarters in there anyway. But I do feel that guilt. But one thing that I think about I've thought about a large number of times is, what if you just didn't have that bench press outside? What if Papa Mickey was like, yeah, just whatever, just play baseball or something? Because I look at our family, I look at our lineage, and guess what?
Yeah.
We don't come from the greats. You know what I mean?
No,
but
we didn't. There's not many others that do this.
But I think of what me and Zach and you have been able to accomplish. All the competitions we did and all the stuff, all the physique photos we took because we finally hit the weight we wanted to. I just think of how maybe our entire life would have been differently because to me, almost nothing instills that sense of discipline or achievement as much as exercise.
Yeah, no, that's very much internal, and it's internalize it so much, like it becomes who you are.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I feel about it. Anyways, it's my identity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not just having abs at 42 years old. That's not the goal. That's just who I am.
Mm-hmm.
If I didn't, something would be wrong.
Yeah.
I'd being sick. I'm on it. I can't come off of it. I'll be on it until. That's why I tell you guys all the time. You got to put me in a nursing home. It's better than a fucking weight room. Put me in there, fine. I want a Bowflex in my room. I want some dumbbells. Don't let me die in there without it. That's how I want to go out.
Yeah.
There's something about. There's something about it. There's nothing else like it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's like a drug.
Yeah.
It's almost like its own drug.
It is. It's exactly like a drug. That's the best way to describe it. I can't go more than a couple of days without it.
Yep.
I get withdrawals if I don't have it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It gives me a high every time I do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a drug.
One thing that I'm proud of, or it's not as proud of, but excited to see coming forward is how much Pete Hegseth values exercise.
Oh yeah,
dude, let me pull you up here. I got to pull it up because it is absolutely mind blowing. The new PT test for Ranger School, they've completely altered the whole qualification test to be. So you have to pass the PT test to just be accepted. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just for it to start. And let me read this shit to you. So, cursor, the previous one before Pete Hegseth was Secretary of Defense, it was you had push-ups, I believe, sit-ups.
Yeah.
You had a 5-mile run that you had to do in under 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
The push-ups, I think you have to get 60 like perfect push-ups. They call them perfect.
Right.
They usually make you do like 80 because they're never perfect.
Right.
But same thing with sit-ups. 5 miles in under 40 minutes, and then you have a little bit of time, maybe like, I don't know, maybe a half hour or something until you have a 12-mile ruck in under 3 hours.
Right.
After that, you are now on day 1. You now completed day 0.
Right.
You know, you can start Ranger School. Let me read this shit to you. The Army Ranger School's new physical fitness assessment, RPA, is tougher than the old one, with a focus on functional movement and combat fitness. The new test is completed in combat gear and boots and includes events like an 800-meter run, 30 dead stop push-ups, a 100-meter sprint, sandbag lifts on a 65-inch platform, a farmer's carry with 40-pound kettlebells for 50 meters, a high crawl for 50 meters, another 800-meter run within 14 minutes.
Oh, wow.
And after that, soldiers will have enough time to switch into their PT uniform and run a 4-mile run in under 32 minutes with also the completion of 6 chin-ups. After that, I'm assuming you also do the 12-mile ruck as well in under 3 hours.
You know, that sounds very much like something that you would have to do to save your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're out in the field, it's not unthinkable to think you might have to sprint 800 meters a couple times to save your life. You
Absolutely.
might have to do some pulling up to get the hell out of there. You definitely going to have to do some farmer carries. What if you got a leader with somebody, your buddy laying on it? Like, you going to just leave his ass there? No, you're going to drag him out.
Yeah.
You got to run with him. Like, that sounds, I mean, like you said, it's geared towards performance. Like, what stuff you might have to do.
I agree. It's pretty spot on. Like, I mean, and all of that's completed in boots and combat gear.
Yeah.
That's pretty insane. But if you're not about it, leave.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
That is a fact.
At the same time, like, Army needs logistics. Go be logistics. Go be finance corps.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe this isn't your thing, but some people are gonna work up and they're gonna fucking crush that.
Oh yeah.
And it blows my mind that there's gonna be hundreds and thousands of people that complete that course throughout these next 4 years, and for the continuation of this PT test that can do that. That is all that in under 14 minutes is insane.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. Just to run a 800-meter dash and like around the 2-minute mark is badass.
Yeah.
Like that's hauling ass.
That's superhuman.
You got to do it twice.
Yeah. Like
on top of all the other things you got to do. Like
I'm blown away by some of the things he's implemented. Like that's an amazing start. Number one, because Ranger School was already the Army's most difficult school. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's already surpassing any and all expectations and requirements that any other school in the Army or the military asked of you, besides like BUDS or something like that. But
I was just watching G.I. Jane last night. You seen that movie?
No, I haven't.
Probably not the best representation of like Navy SEALs because I mean it's an old movie. But like they did some crazy shit, man. They did some wild stuff.
Yeah.
Amber asked me, she's like, "You think you ever could have done something like that?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't like to be Sandy." like when like I had a buddy who went through it twice.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought their favorite thing to do is come down there and surf, tell them to get wet and sandy,
Oh,
like just roll around and it's like I'm really like funny about sensory stuff.
Yep.
Like
sanding your freaking underwear.
Like, sanding my underwear, like water up on, like my clothes are saturated.
Yep.
I'm trying to move and like it's dragging against your skin. Like I hate
one thing I notice whenever I feel something like that is if I'm in like long pants or something, I can feel the wet sand like on my legs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's not cool.
You got to have a tolerance for stuff like that. I don't think I ever had that. Like, sure, I love to work out in my workout. You know what I mean? And then when I'm done working out, I like to go take a shower.
Yeah, not stay in the sand.
Yeah, that rolling around in the surf for a day or two, that's tough.
You know, so whenever I went to Africa, we went with an individual. Shout out Sergeant Mitchell, but he was in the Navy. He had a pretty funny story. So he joined the Navy when he was 19, right out of high school. He played baseball his whole life. He was just a baseball kid, you know, like nothing extraordinary.
Right.
And he said that his ego is so big that he had worked it up in his mind like the SEALs need me. like they're desperate. They need me. He said he should. There's like Olympic athletes and triathlon runners.
Oh, yeah.
He said there were like Harvard athletes who were there to compete, and he was just saying some of the things. He said he wasn't much of a runner, so he got out on they make you do a 4-mile run at like a 7-minute pace in boots and utes.
Right.
And so I think he failed that, which that's pretty tough.
Yeah.
But especially because on the sand, that's insane.
Oh, yeah.
But we were just asking because I was amazed. It was the first time I'd ever met anybody who'd went to Buds,
Right.
and I was like, dude, you gotta tell me about it. Like what was the shittiest thing you did? And you know those big ass logs?
Yeah.
Well, he said that whenever people quit, you're assigned to this log or this boat or whatever. He said that once someone quits on your log, he said they don't cover down. He said so they don't take people who have more and give them to you. You're stuck with that.
Yeah.
He said that people would be quitting while they were doing lunges with the logs. So they'd have it holding it underhanded. And he said they did lunges for 4 hours with this several 100-pound log. And he said the instructor's just yelling at him with the blowhorn the whole time, like, you suck, doing all this stuff. And he said, finally we got a break. He said, he's like, you know what? He's like, maybe you guys just need something different. Maybe get you another way. Maybe lunges just isn't the way to get you guys right now. You're all failing. You can't even do these lunges. So what he did was he made them pick it up, put it above their head, turn the other way, and do lunges for 2 more hours. I was like, you are out of your mind. What? He said as soon as he did that, like, everybody just dropped it. People quit instantly.
That's exactly what they're trying to do, though.
Yeah.
They want to see they don't want a person who's going to quit,
Yeah.
right? Because there's going to be a time, I'm sure, when you're a Navy SEAL, when you're doing some pretty terrible shit, and you're going to want to quit.
Yeah.
They don't want somebody who's going to quit.
Mm-hmm.
They want somebody who's going to keep going at all costs, right? And there just aren't many of those people.
Mm-hmm.
That's the people they're looking for. I mean, it may not even be. I am sure there's some Olympic athletes who are better athletes than Navy SEALs, right? I mean, LeBron James, right? He can probably do some shit that most of your Navy SEALs can't do.
Mm-hmm.
But he can't do what Navy SEALs can do.
Yeah.
He would quit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's pretty insane.
Most normal people would quit.
Mm-hmm.
That's really the defining quality they're looking for. Somebody who can't be made to quit.
Yeah, and it's crazy sometimes whenever you see someone, God, Sean Strickland, I think the UFC fighter, he was making some YouTube video or whatever. He's usually almost like the super villain,
Right.
Grew up, had a shit childhood, and now he's kind of like a bad guy. He's cool dude, like he's hilarious, but
Right.
he's no filter. He's just kind of mean sometimes, and he was going on this rant about how he was this UFC fighter, this champion or whatever, and he was way tougher than any Navy SEAL out there.
Yeah.
And this Navy SEAL responded to him. He's like, all of this. He's like, you're talking in a room that has air conditioning. He's like, take that away. He's like, you see that bed that you're on? He's like, rip it out. he's like, what you're talking about is going and training for a couple hours in this room, this air-controlled room with, your guards and your maids and your chefs and all that. He's like, we don't even get that. He's like, we ran 250 miles in 1 week with a boat on our head. he's like, I think it's a little different.
It's a little different. I mean, it's absolutely different, and that's what they want. You're not going to have perfect environment to train, perfect environment to do anything.
Yeah.
It's always going to be the worst of the worst. You're going to be in the worst place in the world, under the worst circumstances, the worst weather, the worst of it all. They need somebody who can continue in that shit.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm really good at working out, But like you said, it's an air-conditioned gym. I'm in my nice, workout gear. Like, somebody's shooting at me. It's different. It takes a different mentality, and I'm glad there are people like that. Because I'm sure they're very beneficial to the nation to have those folks, but
Yeah.
they're few and far between. Not everybody's wired that way.
I always wanted to try it. Just
Yeah.
give it a go. I always told Zach, I was like, I wanted like a contract where I got to go to Buds, but if I didn't make it, I didn't have to be in the Navy. Like, but if I made it, you had to keep me.
How different is Ranger School from Buds? Do you think they're that different?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it's night and day in
Yeah.
comparison.
Is it the water stuff?
I think that the integration with underwater tactics is a huge leap because it sucks rucking, it sucks being on land, it sucks sucking in Georgia and Florida and all these different places where you got to be. But you know what really sucks is drowning.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
Like that really sucks. And no one actually, you're not in a really environment it's shitty,
Yeah.
but it's doable.
Yeah.
You know, there are women that completed Ranger School. There's never been a woman that's passed Buds.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's just one way of looking at it. But you look at the people who pass Ranger School in a year compared to who passes Buds in a year, the numbers skyrocket.
Yeah.
In terms of Ranger School,
Yeah.
I think it's just in terms of environment.
Let me ask you this: Did the Rangers and the Green Berets did they go through the same training?
No.
They have their own separate training program.
Yeah. So Special Forces goes through selection.
Uh-huh.
Selection is a couple weeks. I think it's 28 days for selection. You go through land nav, you go through patrols, and you do all this stuff, and they're just evaluating you the whole time.
Right.
At the very end, they either select you or don't select you,
Right.
or you get kicked out on the way. And after that, then you go into your training. Then you go, you I don't even think you're not even at your group yet.
Right.
So SEALs have teams, Special Forces have groups. So you're not at your group yet. You're still going to like airborne school and
Right.
probably air assault and all these different schools to get your qualifications. And
Right.
you got to go to language courses and stuff like that. You got to do Robin Sage, which is like this 2-week Op 4 course where you've got to defend against these opposing forces.
Right.
And
They do SEER training.
yep, they do. Yeah, because even pilots have to do SEER training.
Yeah.
I-
They're the most likely to get
Yeah.
captured.
Yeah, so we have buddies who just graduated and branched aviation, and they're gonna go to SEER school. But then you go to Buds, and it's a completely different pipeline. So you go to Buds, and it's several weeks. It's much longer than selection, and then it's several months, I believe, of job training and
Right.
things like that. And then I think it's like a 2-year pipeline until you actually get to your team.
Oh wow.
I could be wrong. I don't know
It's a
anything.
whole lot of training before you're mission ready.
Yeah, dude. Well, like you said, they want the best. You
Yeah.
know? So
A
I
lot
guess
of
it makes sense.
So what do Green Berets do? How does their training go?
As far as like
Like, do they have a selection school? Do they have their own
yeah,
place like Buds? Like,
so Special Forces, like that selection is their thing.
okay. What about Rangers? What do they?
Rangers are a little bit different. They go through what's called RASP. I
Okay.
think it's Ranger Assessment Selection Program, and that's several weeks as well. There's like 3 different phases that you go through with that,
I got you.
and then after that you're part of the regiment or whatever.
Okay. Which one do you want to do?
Special Forces.
Oh, okay.
So that's the only one that you. Special Forces is it's a title that anyone can do. Your unit cannot stop you from going Special Forces.
Right.
Rangers don't select everyone. Rangers mostly take combat arms and like communications for people who are
Right.
signal operators and things like that.
I got you.
But they need mostly guys that kick doors in.
Right.
But Special Forces, that's something that anyone can do because I think there's only, for enlisted men, there's like 4 main jobs. And I believe officers, like you go straight in as a team leader
Right.
if you make it through selection.
Okay.
But if I'm not mistaken, officers, a lot with Ranger School, you get like a limited amount of tries. I think you maybe get 1 try, 2
Right.
tries to get through, and if you're done, you're done. You know.
What's the differences in the kind of missions they're sending you on, though? Like, what's the difference in a mission that you would send an Army Ranger on versus what you would send the Special Forces in? Like,
I've always been told, I could be wrong, but most of what I've been told is that so Army Rangers are a Tier 1 asset, meaning there's several different tiers that determine pretty much the deadliness of this force, like the
Right.
lethality of
Yeah.
this unit. And Rangers are a Tier 1 asset. SF is actually a Tier 2 asset.
okay.
So what I've always been told is that Rangers are more like people in the Battle of Armati, where they're kicking in doors, shooting people in the face.
Right.
They're collecting in this room, and then they're going to the next house.
Yeah.
They're clearing this whole village, and then they're basing down. You know, they're
Yeah.
calling to hire. Hey, we just took this village.
Yeah, right.
Get us our next mission. SF, I've always been told, is more capture kill missions or search and destroy covert missions.
Not so much like brute force, but some more tactical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That makes sense.
And then I don't even know what SEALs do. I mean, I couldn't
I'll
even.
tell you one thing they do. 'Cause they used to train up there, and well, we did some missions with them up there, like some training with them. Those guys are nuts, man. But one of their requirements when they were at Naval War College was they called us and run it by us first, of course, but they asked us, could their guys leave the Naval War College, which was like a mile away by water, and come to our station and plant a fake bomb on one of our boats and then go back. And that if anybody at our station seen them or noticed them, that they failed. And we're like, yeah, let them come on over. And they did. I never seen anybody.
Oh, my gosh.
Nobody seen anybody. They had these underwater, I don't know if they used like little underwater propellers or whatever,
yeah.
but they carried their asses from the Naval War College over to our unit and put a fake bomb on our boat and left and went back, and nobody ever seen them.
That's insane.
It is insane.
Dude.
How do you even navigate?
I don't know.
What kind of equipment do you have to navigate a mile under murky-ass, cold ocean water like that?
They got some Gucci gear, that's for
Yeah.
sure. What one of my favorite videos looking at stuff like this was there was an SF soldier. I can't remember his rank or anything about him really, but he was talking about buds, and someone asked him like, just a hypothetical. He said, "What would it be to, oppose yourself against a team of SEALs?" And he said, "Well, the first thing I'm telling you," he said, "if there's a SEAL within a mile of water," he said, "I'm not going anywhere near him." he said, "If there's any body of water that SEAL can get to within a mile of my position, I'm leaving." I'm like, dude, that's insane. That blows my mind. I mean,
basically Aquaman.
you think about it. I mean, Chris Kyle killed that terrorist over a mile away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's proven it's doable. He did it in a freaking storm too. Like did it in a freaking dirt storm, or what do you call it? A dust storm.
Yeah, those guys are wild, man.
But I mean, they've conditioned themselves almost to just be inhuman.
Yeah. Yeah. They do some crazy shit, man.
Yeah.
But reading stories about some of their missions and stuff like that, you can find online. They're just crazy things they do. Some people think that SEALs blow their stories up.
I know.
Like some people think that they blow them up more than that they are. But I think that's just the we see so much. With Tom Cruise do all the stupid shit he does in movies. We're exposed to so much these days. We think all this shit is normal. This is not normal.
No.
The things that those guys do is incredible. But we think that because Dwayne Johnson can punch a dragon in the face, it's not as impressive as it was before I saw that.
Yeah, I totally agree. One of my favorite stories. So have you ever heard of Green Team or anything like that? They're Delta. So Green Team is and Delta. They pull from everything. Delta pulls from SEALs, they pull from Rangers, they pull from SF. They make pretty much the God Squad of every branch known to man.
The best of best.
In America, yeah. And so
who do they work under?
Dude, I'm not the dude.
I wonder if they're like CIA based.
They're-
I wonder who
They're
work for.
probably they are their own entity. They probably answer to themselves. I'm not gonna tell them what to do. If you've ever met an SF dude, and you're like, he's like a freaking E6, and you're like this E7 or E8, like, hey man, you gotta shave. He'll be like, fuck you. He's like,
I don't shave.
Yeah, I went to that SFRE one time, and I showed up, and the dude that was telling me what to do was in like a t-shirt, OCPs with like Solomon shoes on, and then he had a full beard and a baseball hat.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is like what I want to be. This you're it. But it was so cool, man. But one of my favorite stories of hearing anything about Delta, because obviously they're super off the grid. You know, you don't just meet them. You know, but sometimes you get to train with them.
Yeah.
These super high up units, super high tempo, high speed units like Bragg.
Right.
People that are very proficient, and there's a lot of them.
Right.
They get people from places like Bragg, and they're like, "Hey, send a good team out here. They're going to be the opposing force for Delta
Right.
in this room."
Right.
So you think about it. This isn't like Afghanis, like just retards and towel heads.
Yeah.
Like sandals. These are trained people in the 82nd. These are killers right here.
Soldiers.
Some of them been to war.
Yeah.
And they're defending this building. And my buddy said that they had a perimeter set up with people outside watching the outside, and he said that there are obviously people inside as well, like guarding whatever asset was inside the building. And he said his buddy outside, he died, like they killed him or whatever. He said that they were watching him running around with their giant rucksack. He said it was like they were levitating. he said he was right next to him. He couldn't hear him. And then he said obviously we didn't know that he was dead, so we're still guarding the inside of this building. He said so what happened was, as soon as I heard any noise, I looked at the door and I see a flashbang hurtling right towards my feet. he said by the time the flashbang went off and I opened my eyes, I had been killed. The person next to me had been killed, and they were clearing the room upstairs. He said that they were so good that they couldn't even defend against it. They had.
Well, I tell you what's a really good like visual comparison to how that must be. It's like you're logging on to Fortnite, right? You've been playing for a few weeks, and then suddenly like they drop you in the mat with Ninja. like he runs into your structure, kills you and everybody else in there, and then like leaves. That's how much better they are than you. You know what I mean?
But it's almost staggering how good they are.
Yeah.
Because I've another friend who did the exact same thing, and this one I saved this one for a second because it was so funny. But he said because he's crazy too. He's in the Marines. He's active duty. He's super high speed Marine.
Right.
And he said he was over here training with these guys. He said they flashbanged him 5 times. He said they opened the door and threw 2 in. He said he like got the door in and stood back up. He said they threw 2 more in. He said they like got concussed again, stood back up. He said he threw 1 more, went in, shot them both, and went back upstairs. He's like, dude, what the fuck, man? He's like, we're training. He's like, you could have freaking burst my eardrums.
Great.
I thought it was hilarious.
Imagine if not just any job. Obviously, to do that job, you got to be different, right? Physically, you got to be, you got to be fucking sturdy. Like you can't injure easily. Like you got to be like your mind's got to be hard. But like, imagine anything all these guys do is train.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they do. What if you didn't have any other job? What if you didn't have all these classes you were doing in school? If you didn't have, to worry about anything except training, what could you not be good at if you did that, right? If that's all you did every day, all day, was train to kill people.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like eventually you get pretty fucking good at it, That's all those guys do.
Yeah, and it's definitely dependent on the type of person, because there are some people whose bodies are just not meant to do something like that. I remember my first day of basic training, we were like, it was crazy. We're just running around doing whatever
Yeah.
they tell us to. We were running to go get lunch, and the dude broke his femur.
The bone that's not supposed to break.
Yeah,
Like the hardest, biggest bone in your body.
Not only that, we were on concrete. He stepped into grass and broke his femur, and like day one. But obviously, someone like that, you could never do. It's not you.
There's no amount of training that you can do. I've done some pretty crazy shit.
Yeah.
Like, my finger, if it was going to break, it should have broke a long time ago. You know what I mean?
But DJ Shipley he's one of the most popular operators from Green Team who've come out and expressed a lot of their stories because he's had some crazy stories.
Yeah.
And he said, because he was already in a SEAL team, but then they were trying to recruit him to Green Team. He said that he showed up to like the introduction PT test.
Yeah.
He said if you weren't averaging at the very minimum 120 push-ups and 50 pull-ups, he said you didn't even need to think about going there.
50 pull-ups.
He
I
said,
don't even know anybody who could do 50 pull-ups.
so I have a squad leader at my unit. He said that he was at the Citadel and watched a dude who was like 6 reps away from breaking the world record. He was like 300 consecutive pull-ups.
Oh, my God.
And it might have been more, but it was insane. And he was like, if you're not averaging the minimum, he said you don't even you're not even in the top 20.
Don't show up.
Yeah, and I just thought it was insane because you hear some of the training he was doing. He said that they would go on 10-mile ruck runs just like every day, like just for fun, And he was getting so injured, man. He said that the ball socket in his hip had broken. And it was just kind of lodged in there.
Oh,
and he said
God.
that he was doing all this training and just didn't know it. Like, I couldn't even imagine.
Terrible.
But someone like that,
Yeah.
their body was pretty freaking meant for it.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be conditioned in some sort of way or have this genetic, superpower to where that was meant for
And
you.
that's most amazing athletes or amazing people. Like, they do like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? That dude was built different.
Yeah.
It's not everybody. It doesn't matter. Like, if I was with him and did all that training with him, I could not do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No matter how much steroids I take or how much work. That dude was working out sometimes like, 2-3 hour sessions a day, 6 days a week.
Yeah.
Like, most people can't do that. Like, your body just breaks down.
Yeah.
No matter what you're doing. Like, the bodybuilders these days don't train like that anymore. Like,
Mm.
he was inventing this shit as he was going along.
Yeah.
He just was doing it, and that's why that made him so great.
Yeah.
He was built different. At that time, there was nobody else built like that.
It-
Could do what he was doing.
What amazed me the most about him was that, today, obviously, whatever Chris Bumstead does now, and everyone in his path, Ramon, everyone and everybody on that stage should be, super proud to be where they're at.
Yeah.
But what you had to do it was training schedules that Arnold created. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he was by himself
Yeah.
in that world.
So now you got the drugs are better.
Yep.
They all know they're on steroids, but it's not just steroids. I mean, it's just human growth hormone.
Mhm.
It's insulin. It's whatever they're taking to make them better. Like, that's all better. Technology's better. Like, the
Mhm.
equipment they're using better.
Mhm.
The science we have to back what they're doing is better. Like you said, Arnold was making that shit up as he went.
Yeah.
Like, the Arnold press.
He was the original.
He made that.
Yeah.
Like, he was decided, like, I need to work out to focus this part of my shoulder better. Like, I'm going to make this exercise. Like, he said they used to make their protein, their shakes. There was no protein shakes. They fermented stuff to make their own protein shakes.
Oh my gosh.
So it was terrible. It was awful to drink. So now you got these tasty protein shakes. They didn't have that.
It's like
We
chocolate.
didn't make our own. The things that they were doing. They used to lift in the woods. You ever hear about, you ever read that?
No.
He's got a documentary on TV that
yeah,
you should
Pumping
watch.
Iron?
Not Pumping Iron's also pretty good, but he's got did a documentary here recently where he talks about the 3 different phases of his life: his bodybuilding career, then his acting career, then his political career.
Mhm.
But at one point in his life, they had weights stashed in the woods, and they would run off into the woods after they got out of school, go lift deadlift in the woods. You know what I mean? Like, probably barefooted. With
Oh
no
my
shirt on.
gosh.
Yeah. Like, it's just, he lived in the gym at one point.
Really?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly how the story went, but I know that at one point he didn't have a home. He had a like a mattress in a gym
Oh.
and like a blender to blend up his drinks and like a couple pairs of clothes.
Yeah.
And he lived there. So all he did was work out all the time.
Mm.
So he was trying to, win like his first Mr. Olympia or whatever. Like lived in
Yeah.
literally. So I mean, it's like you said, these special forces guys are just made different than us. He
Yeah.
was made different than everybody else at that time.
Yeah.
Made different than everybody now. And you want them to be. You wouldn't want. I mean, it wouldn't mean anything if everybody could do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
If everybody could do 50 pull-ups, it wouldn't be that special.
Yeah.
They can't.
What he was he was like the governor of California.
Yeah, yeah.
That's pretty
Watch
cool.
that documentary. That is really.
What's it called?
I think it's just called Arnold. I can't remember. It was on Netflix for the longest time. It's a 3-part series. It's a 3-part miniseries. The first part is his bodybuilding career. The second part is his like how he got into acting and that career, and then finishes with his political career. And this dude's lived 3 lives.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's excelled and done great at everything he's ever tried.
Yeah.
3 different complete lives.
It's pretty insane, especially being he was an immigrant, right?
Yeah. Yep. Come from Austria. He talks about his family, like how he grew up and stuff. Like it's just it's a fascinating character.
Yeah.
He always has been.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the reasons I was talking about, wanting to meet him one day. Because a lot of the things I think about, I was like, well, fuck, if Arnold could do this shit. Like, I can do a few more sets. Like, that's what he always used to say is like, 5 more sets. Like, everybody else is done. He wanted to be better. Just maybe do 5 more sets.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? 5 more sets of this, 5 more sets
Yeah.
of that. Like, you just got to do more than the next guy.
Yeah.
That's what it is. And you'll find out when you go to Special Forces training, you just got to do a little bit more than the next guy, right?
Yeah.
Push when you think you should quit, and your body's telling you should quit. You have to assess and decide whether that's something you can push beyond.
Yeah.
And that's where those guys are made.
Yeah. Speaking of politics, I just had the thought. Have you seen much of what Elon Musk is doing with Doge?
Yeah. Yes.
Isn't that kind of crazy, man?
It is wild, man. And you can find people on both sides of the aisle that say, "Oh, it's fake. They're not really saving all this money. They're cutting this, they're cutting that." But if it's what they're saying it is, and they're finding this wasteful spending like it is, it's almost sickening.
Yeah.
Right.
It's insane.
That you work so hard as you do to pay a quarter of your salary to fucking,
Lesbian turtle studies.
trans parades, like, whatever it is. I don't give a shit what we're parading about.
Yeah.
You could be parading about heterosexuality. You spend $1 million of my tax dollars, I'm fucking mad about it. It's
Yeah.
bullshit calls.
Yeah. Like, because there was to have so much of it too. I mean, there were times where they had like postcards almost of all some of the wasteful spending that they were getting rid of, and it was like $20 million that was saved due to canceling the like transgender frog study. Like,
Insane, man, what they spend our money on, man. It's really it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
It is. It's embarrassing that we let our. It's you know what? It's this way with any civilization. The worst of the worst always rises to the top. Somehow they always manage to like get to the top and be in control.
Yeah.
Because I almost think that it's like that's what you become when you get to the top. Like
Yeah.
you get to the top and then you become this fucking piece of garbage. Like this is what you think that you should do with all of our money, right?
Absolutely. I think they said they had saved like it was either $60 billion or $600 billion. Maybe it was $60 billion.
Yeah.
But they said that at one point, I don't know if they're still on track. They said at one point they were on track to save like $1.6 trillion.
Oh my god!
Just like in 1 year, like annually.
Yeah, this stupid shit. What kills me, man, is to giving our money away to other countries
Yeah, that's
for anything.
insane.
I don't care what you're giving it to. Like, I really, literally don't care what you're giving it to. Like, the other countries didn't pay these taxes. We have poor people here.
Yeah.
Like, there are people, like, you go to any major city in America, walk down the street, you'll see people sleeping on the sidewalk,
Mm-hmm.
addicted to drugs, right? Or people who are actually trying, working 2-3 jobs, still can't afford to live.
Mhm.
Like, help those people.
Yeah.
Like, help the people
You're Americans,
here.
yeah.
Because if you help the impoverished people of the country, the whole country improves.
Yeah.
Because those are the people that are stealing your shit when you're at work, right? those are the people that are freaking strung out on drugs and getting your kids strung out on drugs. Like,
Yeah, killing people.
let's make these people better.
Yeah.
And their whole country improves.
You know, someone was talking about the California, how much money they had spent on the homelessness problem in California, and I think it was millions of dollars, like several millions of dollars, and they said it made it worse. Like they said
it can't help these people.
they said that there was nothing. They said that there was no improvement, no change.
Yeah, and there are. I honestly don't know what the solution is in some instances. Like,
Yeah, it's pretty tough to mitigate that risk.
I always think back to a story. An old guy told me one time. He was talking about, and this has been years ago. There was a small town, and homelessness is less common in small towns, but even more so the smaller the town gets. But there was a small town, and there was these two homeless guys, and I guess technically I don't even know if you could call them homeless because they stayed in like this old shelter, like an old tobacco barn or something.
Yeah.
Like they were sleeping in at night, and they were drunks. They just like to get drunk, and they pass out in this old tobacco barn.
Mhm.
I guess you can call that homeless.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the church got together, the town got together, decided they were going to help these people, and so they put them up in hotel rooms, and they fed them properly, and they're trying to get these guys jobs and trying to get them. And they said after a couple weeks of it, they got looking for the guys and they couldn't find them, and they had went back to the tobacco barn. So they didn't want all of that.
Yeah.
They liked what they were doing.
Mhm.
They liked being drunk every night. They liked not having a job. They liked having no responsibilities.
Yeah.
And in the end, they were doing exactly what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how you help somebody like that.
Yeah, some people are just beyond rehabilitation.
Maybe euthanization.
Forceful euthanization.
I mean, really, what do you do with somebody who doesn't want anything else?
I feel like the shitty thing is that while there are some that have to be like that, just by nature, like most of them don't want to be homeless. You know what I mean? And there's I just feel like if we're saving $60 billion, think what we could do with $60 billion.
There's definitely, whether it be homelessness, whether it be infrastructure, whether it be, whatever, that money could be used here by the people who are paying it.
Yeah.
Help the people who are paying the money.
Yeah.
Stop giving it to countries who hate us.
Yeah.
Which most of them do.
Yep.
Right? And maybe some of them for good reason. Maybe, we blowed up somebody in their country. I'm sure they got a reason to hate us.
Yeah.
Don't give them more fucking money. I don't care what they need it
Yeah.
for. I really don't care. There's nothing going on in other countries that aren't also happening right here.
Mhm.
The worst of the worst happens here.
Yeah.
It happens everywhere, I'm sure. I mean, I know there are poor people in Africa. I see Indians in Africa not long ago, trying to help the poor kids.
Yeah.
We got poor kids here.
Yep.
You can go to any city and see the same poor-ass kids walking around with no shoes, no
Yep.
clothes. Like, we got hungry kids here.
Yeah.
We got programs where they feed kids because they don't eat when they're not in school. They don't eat. And I've heard it in programs before. You ever hear them book bag programs?
Yeah.
And I've heard stories of the kids that having to go home and hide their book bag because the parents in the house would eat the food that they brought home.
Oh,
was supposed to get them through the weekend.
Oh, my gosh.
Like, how do you help those people? But whatever it is, we should be fixing it here first. And when this place is perfect, pristine, and there's no problems left here, then we'll talk about spending it. But you know what? That's never going to be happening. So just don't spend our fucking money anywhere else. Spend it here. That's the way I see it. I mean, what if you work all week long and instead of paying for your house and your car, you give your whole paycheck to these people down the street so they can have a house and a car. It doesn't make any damn sense. You know what I mean? Like, get your house and your car first. You help other people as you do.
Well, you heard it here first, folks. I think we might go ahead and wrap it up and go ahead and get out of here. But thank you for coming over. It's good. We've had a few military guests so far, and technically you are military, but it's nice to get away from some of the military talk, and talk about some of the actual issues.
Come to G-Town.
Yeah.
See what's going on with you guys. I hate your brother wasn't here today. And I can see him.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and wrap this up. So if you hit that pause button, we'll go ahead and end this thing.
All right, buddy.
All right.
Appreciate you having me over.
Bye, everybody.